What's all the Omnifuss about then?
Hello, welcome all. Thanks for joining us for this end of year wrap up party. I mean, we're all in that in between stage between Christmas and New Year where you don't know what day it is. You've had all your turkey and stuffing and ham. You're just munching away in your selection boxes. Again, not knowing anything. What day is it? Whatever. When we're back to work. But here we're here to entertain and make things a little bit easier for everyone. Thanks everyone for joining us. I am joined by some of UK royalty, I suppose. UK community royalty. You're all on mute. I asked them to unmute themselves, and they've all forgotten. These are all. Yeah, there we go.
We're waiting for permission.
Oh yeah,
I forgot to put my hat on.
Yeah,
I'm not that strict. Or you need permission to unmute yourselves. Just when they came back in the live stream, just unmute. But here we are.
We're gonna go around us and unmute or something.
That would be too much organisation on my part, but I'm not about organisation, as we all well know. But I am joined by Martin, Sonic's Comics on Instagram.
Hey, everybody.
I'm Highland G on Instagram and YouTube.
Hi, how's it going?
Chris, Offmyshelves, Instagram and on YouTube. And TripleG Comics, who, I mean, it's probably on every social media going these days.
I'm on everything. TikTok. I do a little dance thing and everything God's made.
Really?
Yeah. No. I don't dance, no.
And we are here just to discuss the year 2020 and the things we've read and enjoyed this year. Because this time of year, you see lots of people with like their favorite TV shows, favorite comics, favorite movies. I mean, Pete, you probably have a video for all of them as well coming up because you
all of them, yeah,
everything,
them, yeah. Favorite
action figures, yeah, the whole lot. Yeah, I was a bit worried about having so many people in the live stream because last month we had 3 people on the chat, and 2 of them are here. So Connie, it's all on you tonight, our kid, to keep that chat alive. And she is here. She said hello. She said, "What up, nerds?" So she has joined us. Thanks very much, Connie.
I love that you don't want to invite too many people because you know every person you invite is one less person in the comments.
That's one less.
You know that you've got a very niche audience.
Select. It's quality, isn't it? It's quality, not quantity.
Quality, yeah. 7 people rotated, watching on, watching on, watching on.
That's exactly what I do. I have 7 people in mind, so at least I have 2 on. I know 5 viewers at least, so it works out. But the more I have here, but we've got some guys who have joined us. Sam Taylor is here. Saying hi all.
Hi Sam.
And Wayne Deacon is here also. Saying hi guys. So yeah, we are here to discuss our best reads of 2022. It didn't have to come out this year. It could have came out 10, 20 years ago, but it's just something that you would have read personally this year. Just to kind of get this conversation going. So we just delve right into it. Just while we're in the bush, just jump in. So Martin, since you're beside me, you can go first.
Yeah, why not? I'll make it quick because last time I'm the one that dragged it out for a very long time. But my pick, I would say this year, has been Ice Cream Man. I absolutely love this. It's still sealed because I read it digitally first and then instantly bought the hardcover. But it was an amazing read. I found it. It's one I've not forgot. I read it back in May, June, and I still think about it now. It's one that's resonated with me a lot.
It's different each issue. It's a different story, isn't it? It's like an anthology, so it's a different each issue. Like this, or is it like maybe 2 or 3 issues to create one arc type of thing, or how does it work?
No, it's every issue is self-contained, but you've got that over sort of every issue. You've got the Ice Cream Man's involvement. So there is a story going on in the background, but each story in each issue is self-contained. They cover different things. So
is it similar to that? What was that book we read, Pete?
The coin?
No, the one we read. It's the other one with the hotel.
Oh yeah, hotel. Yeah,
it's similar to that.
It's similar to that. It's an anthology book, isn't it, Martin? So every issue is different, but there are little characters that are in the background scenes that are throughout all of the stories. You know, little odd characters. It's a phenomenal book. What do you guys do? Because Martin's showed off the hardcover there, which I've got my eyes on, but I've got all the soft covers. So I think I probably need to sell the soft covers and buy the hardcover. Is that what you guys tend to do if you like the story?
I think it's difficult with that one. Normally, yes, I'd wait and get the oversized hardcover, but I think with that kind of story where you can almost read every issue in different orders, if I was a big fan of this, I like it. I'm not a huge fan of it, but if I was a big fan of this, I'd want to have it in singles so that I could just read random issues. Because I think that would add to the experience.
Yeah,
I think personally, from my point of view, I would buy someone who hasn't read it fully the hardback and just keep you a paperback. So if you find someone that's needy,
yeah.
Hold on, Phil. Hold on. There's a line.
Have you read it, Chris? Have you read it? Or?
No, I've read the first. I definitely read issue 1. I'm not sure if I went further past that because, again, I was just meaning to pick it up when it was collected, either in trade or in deluxe or whatever.
Yeah, I had the first couple of trades. I haven't read the full. Is it 3 trades in the hardcover?
Oh no, there's loads of soft covers. I'm up to volume 8 of the soft covers now.
I've only read the first 2, and then I was like, okay, I'm going to hold off and get the hardcovers because it's kind of inevitable.
I think there's enough material to collect a second hardcover already.
Oh yeah.
Oh god, yeah. Yeah, I think we're up to issue 30 something now.
Yeah.
See, I think this is the first 18.
Yeah,
this might be. See, I've read all of this because I like the look of the series, so I knew this was coming out, so I just downloaded all of the digital copies first and read straight through, and loved it. So that's why I pre-ordered it. That's why it's not been opened yet, because I'll reread it at some point. But,
is it as bad as, like, I keep referring to Hotel? Is it as bad as like, cutting up your ex-wife and dumping in a river and having faces dripping from the ceiling? Is it that kind of level of? I don't like that. If it's too much, too far, too dark,
Corny's going to make a comment about you being a wimp again.
Probably.
There's a lot of trigger moments, I think, in this series. It covers a lot of things.
I wouldn't say it's a gore book. I'd say it's more of like a psychological book.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, it's designed to be, thriller, horror type thing. It's not designed to kind of make you sick. It's designed to make you.
The issue that stands out to me is always the Neapolitan one, where it's basically he's walking along with an ice cream and he's got the 3 different flavors, and each flavor falls off. And as each flavor falls off, he takes a different path, and you get 3 colors going throughout the whole book as what the paths would have been if each flavor had fell off at a different time.
There's some
his choices.
Incredibly well done artistic kinds of liberties taken with the story, like that issue in particular. You've got the 3 different colors all the way through, and then there's a book later on, I'm not sure if it's in the hardcover, Martin, where you read it one way and then you read it back the other way, and it's the same comic but it's a different story, if that makes sense. So you basically get 2 stories, but it's cleverly written so you can read it both directions. It's really good stuff. Well worth a read.
What I will say, Pete, too, with it's Image, isn't it? It is Image.
Yeah.
With the Image hardcovers, they're always up and down in price as well. So you might grab a good bargain just the longer you hold off, because they're never not in print, unless they're Rick Remender books for some reason. But Image, you're always guaranteed to pick up, 23, 24, 25 pound mark, maybe cheaper if you get a good deal. But usually around that price point, you could pick them up, because I think I got the 3 Saga books for around that price.
Yeah.
So I got the 3 Saga books for like not much more than the one of them was originally RRP, which is £50. I would never pay £50 for those hardcovers. I just couldn't. Not in a million years.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anyone present here that would pay full price for any new out book or any recent book. We're all too shrewd for that now.
Frugal, I say frugal. Past Point Comics, Ephraim is here. Saying, what's going on, Comic Book Familia? He's from San Diego, so I'm going to ignore it. It is San Diego, isn't it, Pete?
Yeah.
So I don't care how cold you think it is over there. It is not the Northeast or Northern Ireland cold.
He'll still be in his shorts lying on his lounge in his garden. I guarantee it.
And even Highlands in the Highlands, like, it's going to be really Baltic up there, surely.
It's freezing.
Yeah.
Heating on all day.
Yeah. I'm in a shed, for goodness sake.
How far have you read, Martin? Like you said, you were reading it digitally.
I've only read the
stop at the end of
hardcover.
the hard. Okay.
Yeah, I only read the hardcover because at that point, I didn't want to go further just in case I didn't like it. So I only went up to the digital where the hardcover stopped. Well, I'm going to go further because it's going to get a sequel. It's going to get another one.
I would say, like I say, I love the book, and I would recommend anybody, if you like that kind of tales of the unexpected, murder mystery kind of stuff, to pick it up. But I would say some of the issues are a bit miss, and I don't know whether it's too clever sometimes for its own good, and it's a bit confusing, if you know what I mean. But that's like any comic, isn't it? You get some hits and some misses, but it's more hits than miss, I would say.
Particularly with anthology type comics, you're always going to get that.
Yeah.
The artist is a rotating cast as well, isn't it? Isn't the artist stable throughout?
I think it's the same artist.
It's the guy from.
Yeah.
It's a weird name, isn't it? Do you have it there, Martin? The artist name?
Morezo.
Maybe it's not him thinking of.
It's just got their last names on the actual hardcover.
Yeah, I'm pretty well sure it's Maxwell Prince that writes it.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
He was it Hey or something like that, wasn't he? Some ha ha ha. That's the one. Or ha ha, yeah. And there's another, like you mentioned, Silver Coin as well, Pete. That's another horror anthology, which again people hold in high regard. They said it's really good.
I don't know if it's just because I am very, very old, but I tend to prefer stories that are shorter like that, or a contained hardback. I cannot really be chewed with ongoing series. And I know Chris has picked up his manga stuff goes on for like days and days and days just looking at the books. I cannot be chewed with that. Do you know what I mean? I lose patience too quickly.
A short attention span is what you're saying.
That's what it is. That's what it is. Yeah.
Me too. I suffer from that as well.
Yeah,
100%. Connie is just is Newcastle freezing, Pete?
Yeah,
She's
but always it never thaws. It's always freezing.
Always chilly in Newcastle.
Yeah.
And everyone's always like, oh, I can't be bothered to read long stuff. It's too cold. And I'm too old.
It's because the pages break. Do you know what I mean? It's that cold. It's fragile, you know?
All right. That was Ice Cream Man. And to be fair, it's something that I kind of thought about buying myself. But again, I'm not a horror fan. And the clown Ice Cream Man guy looks like a clown to me. Like, he is really creepy looking. And you just know that he's up to no good. Kind of reminds me of the Joker slightly. Just the way he looks, like the kind of long, gangly kind of look, you know.
He's the kind of thing that hangs around outside, you know, sheds in the dark.
Pete, this is not going to work. It's Christmas. It's not. You done this before at Highland G's channel when we're talking about scary books and Halloween time. Like, that's a scary time now. It's joyous. It's Christmas time.
It always reminds me of that Smashing Pumpkins video, you know, today, because that was my only exposure for years to American style ice cream men. And literally, when I saw it, that's the only thing I kept thinking was that song with a loop in my head.
Yeah, the American ice cream folks are very different than the ones over here in the UK. Definitely, that's for sure. All right, thanks very much, Martin. Highland G, do you want to go next? What was your best read of 2022?
Yeah, so the one that stands out to me, this is quite a hefty book, is Psyche Jimbo.
Chris is going to love you now.
Specifically, book 4, which is the one that focuses on Usagi and his son. They're basically hanging out, going on sort of a journey. I think he's looking after him for a bit. I forget what the kind of reasoning behind it was kind of given. But they both know from different sources that they're father and son, but they've never told each other. And this is going on throughout the whole story. They're both trying to find a point where they can kind of actually tell the other one. And it's quite a touching kind of moment within the overall kind of Usagi saga of kind of books. I've been reading on kind of beyond this. I'm on to about volume 7, I think now. But yeah, this is the one that stands out for me so far.
Are we on to volume 7? I thought you were trying to buy the hardcovers. Or we've got a second hand of the first edition of the paperbacks, or?
So I have a couple of, yes, I think 1 or 2 of mine are second edition paperbacks, and then I had, I think, 5 and 6 in the hardcovers.
Yeah, so you got 7 the first edition of the paperback, because that's out. The second one is out now in March, I think, or April.
Yeah, and I think I just have 8 to get to have the 9, because 9 came out early for some reason.
Yeah, I know. Weirdly,
then,
do you remember? This was before Pete was born on YouTube, I think.
On YouTube?
We had.
I wasn't born, Chris. I just kind of arrived. It was a.
Yeah. Oh, we know. We were there.
Do you know what I mean?
We were there. We were like, Jesus, where's this come from?
The North. Yeah.
But we did the Dark Horse top 5 Dark Horse books. If you remember.
Yeah.
And my top 2, number 1 was Hellboy, Now number 2 was Usagi Yojimbo, but I specified the volume, and it was volume 4 because it's a standout volume for me as well because there's so many amazing stories in that one. Like it's a perfect mix of samurai and kind of yokai, demon, ghost stories, but you've got that constant drama going on between the two, that melodrama going on between father and son. It's really standout to the series. I love that.
I've been printing some little Usagis as well.
I've seen those.
Yeah.
Is that on your 3D printer that you got?
Yeah, so this is a little sort of miniature one. I was playing about with a Lego man. So this has got a Usagi head on it. And then I printed this much larger.
So are you going to paint these?
You doing it all highbrow. I would have just drawn a cock straight away.
You big child.
There you go. There's the tone set, Phil. Take over.
I've done a lot of just random stress test stuff for the printer as well, just to see like what it can actually do. But that's not as cool to look at.
Seeing your Instagram post, that's made me want to invest in a. I've no reason to have one. I don't. Now that I've seen you do it, I want one myself, just so I can do 3D cocks.
Right. I got to interject. Yeah, I've like bought a printer in the past, like a color printer or black and white printer. When the ink goes, God, the price is ridiculous. Imagine that thing when it stops doing its thing. Jesus.
It's actually not as bad, the one that I kind of went for, because the one that I bought is kind of a ready to print kind of model. So unlike most of the other things that have come out so far, where you've got to know how to level out the bed and you've got to know how to work all the different stuff, this is just plug and play basically. It has its own sort of little camera on it. It levels the bed out for you. You can download files off the internet and just hit go. So if you don't want to create your own things, you don't have to. You very much can treat this as a toy.
Because I know Scott, his dad, I think, has a 3D printer, and he done the 7 secret suitcases. I know how simple they would be in comparison to the Usagi, though, but you can't buy those suitcases. So he got them, timed them down, painted them himself. You're laughing, done it himself. So he has that now as that little kind of like thing for the comic he loves. And then obviously Usagi, you won't see much Usagi stuff, like models or toys. And I think somebody, I could be completely wrong, somebody made Kanto, the comic book Kanto. Somebody made Kanto 3D models. And like,
there's a whole community where people just share their models and they do like mods on each other's models and tag it along as well. So like if somebody say takes the Lego man and then adds a new feature or something, then they upload that and tag it to the original creator, and it just becomes a kind of cool thing.
Don't get me wrong, that Usagi that you have printed there, say you paint that, right, and you were going to sell that, you probably wouldn't get it under the £20 price point that I'm willing to pay for a model or a figure. You're probably talking Pete's range of a few £100 for hot toys type of thing. Because, like Chris has mentioned, that the filament stuff, whatever it is, it's going to cost a lot of money in compared to normal ink.
Well, I mean, as I say, it really depends, because the big thing that I was worried about printing them was thinking of this as a solid object. If this was completely solid plastic, then you'd be looking at maybe like £20-30 just to print this. But this has only got maybe a 20% sort of infill. It's like all cross-hatched inside.
Right.
So when you print it, it's maybe only really 200 grams or less, so it's less than a fiver of plastic.
You go, stick them on like an Etsy. Gotta get your Etsy up and running, selling Usagi Yojimbo figures. But again, it's the painting. But you obviously paint your Power Ranger stuff as well. So
I'm going to give it a go on the bigger one anyway. See how it goes.
Stan Sakai will hunt you down. Copy with a katana because you copyright infringements.
Well, yeah, as I say, this is the thing. You can only do like look-alike type stuff. You can't do like a scale thing that somebody else already has or owns or things like that.
That reminds me of the stuff that Pete actually collects. Like we had this conversation the other week about as a Baron Simo, but they didn't call him Baron Simo.
Yeah,
it was him, but it was
third-party figures. So your big companies like Hot Toys and things like that pay for the likeness of the actors. Your third-party makers don't pay for it, so they can't actually call it by the name because they haven't got the copyright and all the rest of it. So, for example, I got the So Toys Richard A. Grant Loki, but they can't call it Loki, so he's called Original Trickster or something like that. So yeah, it's just how they get around it.
Just call him Ninja Rabbit then, and that's
Ninja Rabbit. Yeah, Samurai Rabbit. I've never read Usagi Jimbo. Never read any of it. I feel like I'm missing out.
I keep meaning to, because like I have the two, like the hardcover box set. I think it's the original ones. But
I was going to say, nothing else. Read that. You can read that by itself.
Yeah, but it's like Pete was saying, that when there's something that there's so much of it, and I say this, I'm reading Amazing Spider-Man stuff, but there's so much of it, you dive into it. It's like it's a lot of time to commit to one thing when you want to.
Yeah. Weirdly, Usagi is pretty much one of the only long ongoing series that you can just pick up any volume. You really can.
Right.
I know everybody says that, but you genuinely can. The only thing you'll get more from, if you know the backstory, is obviously a character will come in, you'll know what Usagi has done with them before. But that doesn't affect what they're doing now, their personality, and they kind of, if one's like, if Kitsuine comes in, you can tell right off the bat that she's a pickpocket and a thief. Honestly, it is one of the most accessible comics.
So what's a good starting point then? If I wanted to pick up a contained story to get a flavour that I don't need to know the full backstory on, what's a good starting point?
I would grab the Usagi Yojimbo Saga Volume 1 by Dark Horse. Just because
that's the paperback.
That's the paperback version, yeah. Just because that's reprinted recently. You can get it for about 15-20 quid. It's a nice 400-page book, well made. And if you don't like Usagi at the end of that, you're not going to like him, And the earlier one, the Fantagraphics book,
I think that's the better starting point, personally.
I think, I don't know. See, sometimes
there's a lot of foundation in like the relationships between certain characters.
The way I think of it is if you were to read Saga Volume 1, the Usagi one, and then like it, and then go back to that Fantagraphics together, you would get more down the line, but it wouldn't kind of like change your reading experience drastically. It may well do going forward, because I think the Fantagraphics one kind of brings in a lot of elements to kick in 2, 3, 4 Saga. But number one kicks off with the Turtles crossover, and so if you're aware with the Turtles who are, then you kind of straight in there really with like a 6-issue Turtle crossover.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's good about Usagi isn't necessarily the being able to jump in anywhere, because I think that's a little bit debatable. There are things that change over time in the world. Different people maybe get into power, or different people get thrown out of power, and so on. Different relationships. So you kind of want to know some of those backstory moments personally. But what I think is really, really good about it is that every story that's told is the length that the story needs. It all has a start, a beginning, middle, end within those kind of arcs. And you might get a story that's 4 pages, or you might get a story that's 30 pages, and at any stopping point you're satisfied, it's kind of complete. So in a trade, the larger Dark Horse kind of trades, or any of the hardcovers, any story you read is going to be complete. I just personally would say you're better to start at the beginning, and then if you don't enjoy beyond the beginning, fine. And if you want to dart about after the beginning and you've got a foundation, that's also fine. But I just think the beginning is a good starting point.
Are the hardcovers still tough to get hold of?
I think they're okay just now.
No, I think you mean the
older ones, not
ones, the Dark Horse ones. Yeah, the Fantagraphics like hardback that they reissued, like the slipcase edition. You can still pick that.
Yeah, you can pick that up easy, and then they're reprinting the soft covers just now, which is the ones that I'm picking up to fill in the gaps for the Dark Horse ones. They're about 20 quid or something.
That's what made me nervous about it. I wanted the hardcovers. I thought the black hardcovers for the original stuff looked really cool, and then when I realised how tough it was for people pre-ordering, it sort of put me back a little bit.
They do look cool, but then the soft covers are sewn binding as well, so it's not a huge difference.
Oh, okay.
Just get them custom bound, because I know a guy who can design the cover, and you just provide the books and get them custom bound.
And that'll probably actually be cheaper.
Yeah.
Just buy all the soft covers for 20 quid each.
Because I've done it. It is cheaper, definitely. But the paperbacks are way better quality than standard normal paperbacks. Right. Think of the paperbacks as identical to the hardbacks, except the boards. And you might think, well, obviously, but it's the binding itself is identical to the binding that's in the hardbacks. You're just missing the boards that it's attached to, obviously.
And it's got an extra glue layer to hold on the soft cover.
Build-wise,
Wow.
you're as close to the hardback as you're going to get without that extra little thing. I mean, the big incentive for the hardbacks is obviously the fact that they're limited edition. They got signed kind of book plates.
And the hardbacks are the same size. They're not oversized or anything, so it's exactly the same.
Same reading experience, totally. It really is.
Yeah, it's not like the Fantagraphics ones that are slightly bigger.
I just seen Pete looking down. He's on his phone on Amazon now.
Maybe.
Because this happened last month.
Just having a browse.
Was it Chris's? It was the Imitation Game book.
Yeah,
it was Imitation Game, wasn't it?
And Pete straight away
as I said, they're reprinting the soft covers on a version 2. So they're on 7's due any time, and then 8's after that, and that should be every one of them available.
I think
there's
there's
like
one due out
there's something sexy about hardbacks.
See, the more I buy, the more I realise that it's a kind of fool's errand to just focus on the hardbacks. I think it really is, because it makes the hobby so much more stressful and expensive than it need be, particularly if the paperback is not going to be read like thousands of times, because the paperback won't just fall apart after like 5 or 6 reads.
Hey, one of mine fell apart on the first read. Sea of Sorrows just literally exploded in my hands, and all the pages just started falling out.
Ridiculous.
It was ridiculous.
I remember the first paperback I ever had fall apart on me. It was Hellboy, the first volume, and that's what prompted me to upgrade to hardback for them. But I had read that so much that it was just falling to bits. And I think that's what I'm going to focus on now, is like worrying about hardbacks that I know for a fact I'm going to reread, or they are substantially different from the paperbacks in terms of like an absolute is substantially different from. So if I'm upgrading to a hardback in absolute format, then there's a reason in my head. But with Usagi and things like that, because the dimensions are the same, there's not really it's not a great need, particularly.
I mean, that's the thing, that I upgrade to a hardcover for the oversized print. That's what I want the hardcover for. Exactly, I'm not buying it because it's a more durable book. It's just because it spreads out slightly nicer. I can see the art a bit nicer, and it's a bit bigger. But if they do the soft cover with a sewn bind and it spreads out just as well, and they do it oversized, I'd be just as happy with like the TKO style.
Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, that's the second edition of Volume 1. That is. So let me show you that. So
I can't help it. I'm doing the same.
Oh, I do apologise, Phil. This is very rude.
I'm going to have to do this now myself. For goodness sake.
So this is the slipcase of the Fantagraphics series. Mirage Studios, that did the Turtles, and some others published this first one. So it comes in 2 volumes. There is a paperback version and a hardback version of this set. You could pick that up for about, I think, 70, 80 quid probably. But then he moved over to Dark Horse and produced this, the paperback that you were looking at now.
Yeah.
And it gives a nice introduction. When I first started reading Usagi online, I didn't know about the Fantagraphics series, so I started reading this online, and then it prompted me to look into it and buy, and I was quite, taken by this. Like, even if you pick it up online, it's fairly cheap, but this, nothing wrong with this in the slightest, really. They're great books, I think. Like I said recently, I sold off my hardbacks just because.
And that one's a good starting point.
I think so. Definitely either one of them. Like, if you want the full character backstory from day dot, then this one. But this one, if you finish it and think, oh, I want to know the origins of Jotaro or the first Usagi story, then you can jump on there. But either one of these are the perfect starting point, I think, to be honest.
I can just see eBay making the ka-ching sign right now when Peter catching it.
Let me just save that in my wish list.
Who else wants to buy some Usagi or Jumbo then? Let's talk more about Usagi.
See, it's one of those characters, to be fair. Like, I know you, Chris, and James from Comic Deal. Like people, I always think if somebody loves a character that much, it must be good. Like, if you're passionate about this thing, it's gotta be good. It just hasn't hit that many people's eyes. So it is something like I have that hardcover slipcase edition, thanks to Chris, because it wouldn't deliver to Northern Ireland, so it went via Wales. Still haven't opened it yet. I really should. I feel guilty. But
I think what's so good about Usagi's kind of books is it kind of feels like to me like a classic kind of British comic in a way where the character is there and has their kind of story and importance, but you're also there kind of looking through the character's eyes to learn whatever they're learning in that story or whatever journey they're going on in that little story. So some story arcs could be, me and Chris have discussed this before, it could be about learning how to make kites for like a whole issue, or it could be a different issue.
Or farm seaweed.
Yeah, and then
I mean, there's an issue about farming seaweed.
I just friggin' bored. Now that sounds boring as shit.
He's regretting buying
that. It's not like...
But it's not, because you get these really random like things that happen within it and different, it's made fun. And there's as I said, character building moments, but there's also these kind of journeys. So as it reminds me of reading something like, the Beano with Dennis the Menace or something, where like one story might be about him, in character growth and learning not to be a bully or something, and then another story might just be him learning about the history of Christmas, or whatever the case may be. So like you get different things, and that keeps the stories interesting because every story has a slightly different angle.
See, this is my problem from start to finish. I get overly excited and I buy stuff, and then you just start talking, comparing it to the Beano and kite making, and I'm totally switched off. But I've bought it.
But you buy everything anyway, so that's good.
You just need to read it, Pete, and then it's hard to describe.
I've had some folks just appear in the chat. Sherry Walder, I said namaste. I don't know what that means. I'm sorry. I'm very. What's namaste?
Namaste.
Hello.
Namaste.
Okay. I don't do yoga, or I don't know. Okay. No, I don't think I could do you? I mean, I've got firm abs. Okay, we've got one firm ab. It's just one. That's hard.
One solid ab.
One solid ab. And then Ben, Attention Seeking Geek, has said, "Hi all. Wife has control of the TV, so catch the rewind tomorrow." You mean she doesn't want to watch 5 old folks talk about comic books?
Hold on a second now.
I'm the youngest one here, so I'm okay to say that.
Martin's about 12. How old is Martin?
Is this how you treat your guests?
Yeah.
When they're late. Yes.
I'm 86 with Phil.
Yeah, Martin is the same age as me. I'm not sure who's first. I'm February.
I'm March.
All right, so Martin is the youngest. Martin's the youngest.
I'm December 86.
Oh. So you're the youngest then, is that right?
So that makes
right. Yeah.
Oh, look at his face now. G comes in. Put him down.
Well, then I'm the middle child here, so I can say old because we're all 36 years old. But yeah, that was Usagi Yojimbo, and again, I think Pete's bought it. Martin's going to buy it. I'm assuming. Try it digitally first, and then buy it. And I've already bought some, and I probably will buy more again. So yeah, that's this is what we do here. We like to talk people into buying books, spending their money. So run now while you can. Pete, you're up. What's your best of 2022?
Oh, so I've got a load of books here, and it's been hard to pick my favorite, but I've gone for one that I've read to completion in terms of the hardback books. It was featured on a little show you might have heard of called The Nerd Herd a while ago. I picked all 3 volumes up to give it a go. This is Deadly Class. These are the hardback volumes, so I picked up volume 1, 2, and 3 purely on your recommendation. So thank God it was good. Absolutely fell in love with this series, and I've blasted through all 3 volumes. It's one of the best, I think, best written series I've ever read. I don't know if you guys have read it, but it's basically about a school for assassins, kids that go to this school. And the thing I love about it most is that you think you know who the main characters are, and then the next issue, 3 of them will be murdered or killed or set on fire or pushed in a barbecue or whatever. So it doesn't get it doesn't get boring because you never quite know what's happening. It literally just
I got a
changes all the
question.
time.
How big or small is the barbecue? Because
it's not a barbecue, it's a campfire. Sorry, it's a campfire.
Right.
Yeah. The roasting. I'm not going to tell. I don't want to spoil it for people who haven't read it.
Don't.
Yeah. But main characters basically just die left, right, and center. The action's great in it. The characters are great in it. I just love it. Not my kind of story or book at all that I would normally pick up. But I picked it up on a recommendation from the Nerd Herd and just absolutely adored it. And also because I know, Chris, you like your book design and build, these are beautiful. These are really
They are
solid,
stunning.
nice hardbacks. Each one's got a different character kind of image on the front there, and they just look lovely.
Yeah.
Sorry,
that's the guy who rides the goat at the start, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's all you need to know.
Yeah. No, just lovely books. Great story.
I love when they were introducing a bunch of like the next year in the second book, and the kind of different characters were playing off each other. So like in the first kind of book, you get a lot of, I guess, kind of very stereotype kind of cliques, and then in the second book they have like playoffs of that. So your goth has like a metalhead, and they're kind of playing, like arguing with each other and like stuff like that, rather than it being just the one goth or the one like
it's very clever, isn't it?
Scene kid or something. So it was really clever.
Let me just catch up here. We made another sale. We should definitely be charging commission. Karthik has also bought Usagi, and
has he gone from Deadly Class?
No, this is just I'm a professional. I watch the chat as we're going.
Oh, sorry.
So this is before the Deadly Class chat.
Skilled.
However, he has asked if anyone watched the series, and the series was great.
I haven't seen it yet.
You should watch it. The sad thing about the series is it's one season because they cancelled it, because my understanding was in America it wasn't on like a big channel or anything like that there, so maybe the funding was slightly different or whatever. So over here in the UK, we were able to get it through. Is it Stars? I think it's called.
Right.
Like through Amazon.
I think it was, yeah.
But it's really, really good. It's sad that it didn't renew it for a second series, but the adaptation, I think Steve is here. He's not read it, but he loved the TV adaptation, and the TV show was great, fantastic.
Yeah.
And Connie saying there, it is sad that it didn't get a second season because it was really good. And
I would love to see it in live action. Like I kind of like the comic art style with all the kind of slasher style moments. If that was made 3D and realistic, I don't know.
I know what you mean. It's a pretty unique art style. It's really different. But
I think the thing for me in this is I am an old fart, and I like a book that actually has an emotional impact. And there is I'm not going to go into detail. Highland G will know if he's read it. There are a couple of scenes in this where people turn on friends and things like that, and it's just heartbreaking to see what happens, and people die that you're just not expecting to die, and that you've made that connection with, and you can't believe how they've died and things, and just seeing how people's lives continue on after those events, and how they kind of reconcile and what they've done to people and all those kinds of, because they're all backstabbing by the end of it, it's phenomenal. It's a really good read.
I've actually only read the first 3 trade paperbacks, which is the first hardcover book. So I actually haven't read beyond that. I really should get my ass moving, because I love that first. Let's say that first book's fantastic, and I want to read on. But it's ended now. I think there's a 4th hardcover at some point this year, and that'll end the series. Which is, I mean, it's sad, but it's like 50 issues or something, so it's more than enough.
For me,
I think the first trade of Deadly Class was a bit hit or miss for a lot of people. I don't think it was the right length. I think maybe one more issue would have like properly been a better appetizer into the series. So a lot of people, I've heard anyway, and I was one as well, read the first sort of trade worth of issues and didn't really think much of it until the second read through, and then going on further.
Because Adam,
there's a big twist,
was like that. He read the first one. Adam, I read the first one, wasn't that fussed on it, but he reread it.
I feel like that first trade needs to add like 2 issues or something to get more people to.
There's a big twist, and I'm not sure if that's in the first trade or not, but there's a kind of a big switch in the school kind of thing. But you mentioned there, Phil, that it's ended. That's probably one of the things I like about it, because like I said before, I like a complete series. I had it to show, but this is one of my favorite series of all time. I've got volume 1, 2, and 3, and the fact that I can say that it's a complete series story from start to finish, and I know Mark's life from birth right the way through practically. I quite like that. I'm not keen on them coming back to those stories because they're already done. So I've not picked up I Hate Fairyland yet, because for me that was quite a perfect little story. There was 2 beautiful hardbacks I've got. Yeah, I don't know that I want to read more in case it's shit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, sometimes like you just wish they let things alone. You know, move on to something different. But there's too much money to be made, and there is. I mean, it's not even just Shane. Shane was crying for Gertrude to make her come back for I Hate Fairyland, but there's a lot of people who wanted her back. I liked I Hate Fairyland. It was okay, but I wouldn't care for a third.
I felt like it ran too long already, to be honest. I like the concept, and I think it could have been done in 10 to 15 issues rather than 20. It felt like it was becoming a little bit of rinse and repeat. You know, like every 5 issues, it was kind of doing the same arc of, you know, will she get there? Will she get there? Oh no, she won't. Back to the start, and you know, and it was just like I wanted a little bit more flavor to it if it was going to do that.
Yeah.
But I liked the character.
Yeah, that was my biggest issue as well with
to make it more interesting, and it rounded up okay. I just don't feel we needed any more. The fact that they're doing a separate season, it's completely separate. It's fine. It means that people who want it can have it, and those who don't. Kind of like in Invincible, there was about 5 or 6 spin-off series of Invincible, and if you don't want to read them, you can just ignore them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was my biggest issue with I Hate Fairyland, is the readability of it after, is because, you know, the jokes were so on the nose and not multi-layered or anything. But the only reason I'd go back to it would be the art, is to look at that world again, because it's one of those stories that are so distinct and straightforward that you don't forget any of it. Because I read through my 2 hardcovers twice, and I've since sold them on, because I'm kind of like, I'm never gonna go back through them, because I went back through them and I remembered it all.
I almost feel like it would be better.
There wasn't anything more.
You know, she just gets stuck in Fairyland. Like at the end, she tries to get out and she just doesn't. Like rather than having 4 arcs of that, like if they'd just done it like 10 issues, and then she's just stuck in Fairyland, and we just leave it open. Like, does she ever get out? Does she not?
It's like, see, when it comes to me scorning the Nerd Herd, for example, like I think books like I Hate Fairyland are limited anyway in terms of what you could really, can't give them a 10 out of 10 because you might enjoy them, but like they're limited. I don't know why I have this kind of stumbling block to rate these books quite highly. So I Hate Fairyland.
I mean, there's really funny moments in it, and there's some really cool art in it where you'll see like the progression of time of maybe like the little sort of cricket guys built a house while she's sleeping or whatever, and it's quite funny. But
it's difficult to compare books like
back to it.
It's difficult to compare books like that to, like, you know, Batman Year One, or, you know, the kind of classics that you could read again and again over the years. I don't think I'll reread I Hate Fairyland ever. I don't think I'll buy them.
Batman, there's only so many times I can read that. Like I've got a lot of origin sort of year 1 books for like Nightwing, Robin, Batgirl, all that kind of stuff. But to be honest, after a couple of reads, I don't think they reread that well either, because I know the origin. I don't need to reread the origin. I want to read the little fun arcs where they've interacted with someone.
True. But Batman Year One, don't ever say a bad word about it again, or else.
See, I've never read I Hate Fairyland. It's never been something that's interested me. I think if I read it, it would only be for the Nerd Herd, or even just for Scotty Young's art. Yeah. But
it didn't appeal to me at all. So it wasn't on my radar at all until the Nerd Herd, and I thought, I'll pick it up and see what it's like, and just loved it.
Volume 1, to be fair, Volume 1 was definitely very good. We read Volume 2 as well for sequels month, and I don't think it hit the same.
I think you could read Volume 1 and just stop if you wanted.
Yeah, I think so too, 100%.
Yeah, the jokes run dry, don't they? To be honest,
I mean, you don't need to have an outcome. You just need to understand that
there's so many mother fluffers you can read.
Yeah.
Oh, I like a good mother fluffer.
Yeah. All right, Chris. Speaking of mother fluffers, Chris.
Oh, that
you're up next.
That was good.
That was a seamless transition from one person to the other.
Disappointed.
Sorry, Chris.
Am I supposed to pick just one, or you weren't really
just for now? We'll just keep one for now, and we'll just keep going until we've got 15 minutes left. So
have we?
There's no time. We always aim for the hour or an hour and a half, but it's never happened.
We're never going to do it.
No, let's keep going.
But you told me, I know you were favorite reads of 2022 because you were on that video. Because I'm an incredibly popular YouTube promotion, public personality nowadays.
Chris was on near mint conditions. We know you're hounded.
I'm getting the phone is red hot with cameos and pop-ups, but so with my newfound fame, I had to pick something else other than that. But that certainly was. If you haven't watched that video, then tune into Near Mint Condition to find out more.
I've never heard of naming condition. What's that? Is that a big channel?
It's probably
It's-
it's one of the biggest ones for comic book collecting, certainly for hardcovers and stuff.
You should be following me anyway, Pete. You cheeky
I
bag.
follow you, yeah, but I'm not. I don't know what naming condition is.
To be
Tell you
honest,
what.
I thought Pete was being sarcastic, and then when Phil started explaining it, I thought, hang on a minute, he's not joking.
Yeah. He
He
does a
covers
video
all
pretty
the
much every
Marvel
day.
stuff.
I'm
basically.
now subscribed to naming condition.
There you go.
So if you see
if you follow
the
Marvel.
best reads of 2022 video, there's timestamps. So I actually skipped. I went to Chris first because that's the one I wanted to hear. So I think
I'm the starter.
30 odd minutes or something. Yeah. So I skipped through to him, watched Chris's, and then I just flicked through some of the other guys.
He's got 77,000 subscribers.
Yeah, he's one of the bigger ones. Yeah. And like
It
Chris
was brilliant the other day.
Chris is
like-
riding the coattails. So yeah, that's
No,
what he wants.
That's what was brilliant. Honestly, it fried my brain. The video went up the other day, and it literally went up, and everybody was really positive and talking. Oh, there's so many channels. I can subscribe to this. I can subscribe to that. And within minutes of the video going live, I had 12 new subscribers. I was like, oh, that's great. Within less than 12 hours after, the 12 subscribers had gone, and I had one less. And I was like, I wonder what those 12 people that came along from Omar's channel to mine disliked about me that much. Do you know what I mean? Why they go, oh, I'll subscribe to it. Oh, actually, no, I think I'll go away. So it wasn't really a confidence booster, I'll be honest.
It's all the bots, Chris, honestly, because I get that quite. Whenever I put a short up, I get 10,
You're right.
15 subscribers, and then the next day it's down to 2. It's because there's a load of spam bots, and then YouTube witters them out.
Is it really? Yeah.
Yeah. You get a load of spam accounts.
That's worse in a way, though, Pete, because that means I didn't even affect any real.
Yeah, you have no
people.
impact. No impact
I
at all,
had
Chris.
no impact whatsoever. Well,
YouTube
I'm glad I
every so
wasted my
often
life
deletes,
making
like,
that
any
video.
accounts.
Yeah.
But
All
your
77,000 of his subscribers thought, nah, not for me, Chris. No.
But that's the thing. Because like, what's the views on that video, Pete? Do you have it there handy? What's the
I had it
views on
on.
that video?
Which one was
rubbing
it?
salt into the wound now.
Reads of 2022. Yeah.
Best reads of 2022. 10,000 views in 3 days.
So how you had 10?
And I haven't had one subscriber. no one subscriber thought, out of all of these YouTubers, the Welsh one, that's the one I want.
Just remember, Chris, who was the number one on your subscriber? Number 2, technically speaking, on your subscriber list. But
Because I was number 1
yeah, exactly.
on my private account.
Just don't ever forget that now. When you get rich and famous and stuff, and you know, I can ride your coattails whenever you have 77,000 subscribers.
I can't see. I monetized a video because I shared a post. I can't remember when it was now. When I had 1,500, I think. And someone said, "Oh, how come you're not monetizing anything?" I think even Pete commented actually. He said, "Oh yeah, pay, get some pay." And I was like, "Should I?" So I monetized like 2 videos, I think, and they were up for ages, and they were like being booed and whatever, and I had like 28p, and I thought, I'm all right without monetization, I think.
You can't even get a Freddo for that, can you?
I'm fine.
Did you not monetize your back catalogue?
To be honest,
You just like click on like monetize all and monetize your back catalogue.
Nah,
and
I don't
then
want-
if you
I
get
don't want-
9 pence per video, if you've got 100 videos, that's £9.
Like, see,
Well,
your most viewed video must be the one I was on the live stream for your year birthday. That's still got to be the most viewed video. Surely.
That's my least food.
That's where you lost subscribers.
Lots of complaints and thumbs down on that one, isn't there?
Yeah, probably.
I'm always
surprised.
surprised what videos do well. Like the ones that I'm like scared to put out, where I think, oh, this one's not going to get people as excited. That's the one that gets like 200 views in a week, and I'm like, what?
I find
given
like
up trying to work it
haul videos seem to be the best ones.
Not for me.
Really?
The best ones for me are look at Monsters. That was really good. Monster by Barry Windsor Smith, and the look at my absolute editions was loads. And the first
If I've
video
looked
I
at
ever
books that
did.
are lesser known, like the 100 Bullets hardcovers, I've got like thousands of views on that.
The first video I ever did on the Hellboy hardcovers is crazy, good views.
Well,
Which does my head in, because it's like the most rawest version of Chris in existence. And I think the Scott Pilgrim ones is like my second Scott Pilgrim hardcovers. But
Well, it's all the external viewers as well. Like you're not your subscribers, but people that are just searching for that, like that week or that month. Then you get all those extra kind of.
Yeah, bookshelf tours is another. I love bookshelf tours myself. I think it's great.
Bookshelf
tours
tours is a popular one. Yeah, but I'm always surprised how the most popular ones on my channel are the books, like individual ones like Monster or Hellboy or Scott Pilgrim, that type of thing. The whole ones are fit. You know, they perform as well as anything else, really.
I've done some tutorials as well, like some simple tutorials. So I've got like a how to bag and board video, and that one's like getting maybe 100 views every couple of weeks.
Really? See, that's a good thing, because that means there's new people coming to the comic book hobby. Because I done that when I first came in. It's like I searched videos for bagging on board and how you store your comics.
Yeah,
like,
and that's what I was thinking was like,
things,
what would I look for? And then I tried to create those videos. So I've done like a short explain series of like 5 or 6 videos that are just like how to do this, like how to stretch out your book, how to bag and board, you know, what are the fundamentals of what's a build quality of a book, you know, what is the binding, the outer cover, so on. Like really simple stuff, but the things that I would have searched for.
See, as a non-YouTuber here, you know, I think I've watched those videos, especially yours, G, and yours, Chris, is all like your classic ones. I think the ones that I try and avoid is reviews, because if I have not read that book, I'm not going to watch the review. And I think it's disappointing that YouTubers put that effort into the reviews, go through it in such depth, but you're not going to get the viewer count, because if no one's read that book, they're just going to avoid it, like myself.
See, that's the thing. Like, you see, if there's like a new omnibus or a new books come out, they'll give like a. I mean, I think you do it, G, as well. Like an overview. We're not going into the story. It's more like, here's the build, here's this kind of stuff. And it's like
I try to avoid the term review, so I call them closer looks, because it's about looking at the book and the build quality rather than telling you the story and spoiling it. I might mention
way
bits
too
and
similar.
pieces. You know, I might mention bits and pieces, but I'm not looking to spoil the story for you. You know, I'll be like, okay, there's a couple of main characters, and there's a ninja, and they have a fight. Look, the art's cool. You know, like that's what I'm not gonna.
But Martin, I think you mentioned this to me before, that you can have a video and do the kind of build and the overall kind of book, but then say, right, here come the spoilers. If you want to, you know, don't want to hear.
I used to do that, but then my views would just tank as soon as you said the word spoiler.
That's the thing, and it's not good for the algorithm that way too, because you won't have the retention, I suppose, for that video. And yeah, if you make a 10-minute video and people only stay for 2 minutes, then you feel a bit bummed about that.
Yeah. The other thing was, if you cut you from the book as 2 separate sections and you stop giving people something visual to look at, people also cut away. So the more shots of the book you can have, even coming in and out, like Chris does a lot more recently, you know, you'll look at the book and then a little bit of you, and then a little bit of the book and a little bit of you. It keeps people watching, because if they just see you for 10 minutes, unless you're the most exciting person in the world, then, you know, people will eventually drop off.
Can I just touch on this comment here, sorry, from Karthik? I'd like to pronounce your name. I'm sorry if that's wrong. That's why I think it sounds like, Chris, you do this the other way around. You also take the books off your shelves. I've noticed in your videos, like at the start. I like that as well. But then you should put them back. Or do you put them back? I can't remember. I don't think you do.
What's the name of the channel? Off My Shelf.
I know.
Yeah, I know. I did. But to be honest, I've been trying my best to reduce the amount of B-roll footage that I have to edit and process, because it was getting a bit much, even though you might not think you're looking at it. The amount of ball ache and moving my living room around that I had to do every time that I took a shot of a book, and yeah, it was a bit of a nightmare, a bit of a ball and chain that was when I set up the kind of format of my videos, because it's not easy to kind of like, you know, have a lot of shots, glamour shots, if you want to say, of the book, then the head down of the book, then the shots of the pictures inside the book,
and me zoomed in shots and stuff as well.
Yeah. And so now I just kind of like, I do like an overview and then the zoomed in shots and me. So it's just, I'm trying my best to make YouTube less stressful.
The most effort I put into one video on my channel was that Texas Blood, and I have the 6 single issue. So I was in the whole B-roll thing where it's like moving the camera up, you know, like taking like with the 6 books laid out. And then I even written a script. Like, I don't write scripts. Come on, I written a script, and then I got the digital images and put them on. You can pan through the images and stuff. I was doing all this cool stuff.
Rubbish, that is, because I know for a fact what you were most effort was. You were shelf tour.
Oh yes, that's true. That is true.
Because
Shelf
editing in between those books and putting one in front.
The cuts between each
Because I know
book to
me
go
and
1, 2, 3,
G
4,
like
5, 6.
that.
Yeah. That was
that's actually quite easy. It's just save 100 books.
It's
just 100
laborious.
stills. Yeah, okay, it's definitely yeah. Because I had
and if
to
you
write
can
them
get
in
your
paper and
audio
stuff.
to also go over at 1, 2, 3, 4 as you got in the books appear, then it's really smooth.
Because you have to obviously like
Back and
drag it across.
kinda...
Say it takes 3 seconds per book. You obviously have to drag it for 3 seconds, whatever it is. And it is. You're right. It is laborious. But you're right. That was the most, and I was proud. That's the most proud, I suppose, video I've made. And the problem is, it's due again. That was a year ago.
Someone asked me the other day in my comments.
On my last one.
Yeah, someone asked me the other day, 2023 shelter. I was like, oh, I'm not ready. I'm not ready for this. It's too hard. It's too hard. It takes ages.
I might do one around February time or something, but I am due at some point.
Yeah. Dax Halo is saying petition for more sliding back onto the shelves. Yeah, we do need that. And that's the thing. That's what TikTok's for. So if we all create a TikToks, they all love that. What is it? ASMR, isn't it? Where like the sounds, like the sliding back on the shelf.
What you could do is have them sliding off at the start of your like review videos, but have them being put in after your hauls. So like after you talk about each book in your haul, put them away.
Chris done that in his haul videos. I'm pretty certain you've done that in your haul videos.
I have, yeah. and that's what he's referring to because he is one of my lovely subscribers who I talk to practically every video, and he loved I think it was 2 or 3 haul videos where I put the books on my shelves and then did it all. But honestly, it was so much extra hassle. So the next time I did a haul video, I just couldn't be asked. And then I didn't do it. And I thought, if I just walk away from this, no one will notice that I introduced it. And he noticed. And he was like, oh, I really enjoyed that. And then someone else did as well. And I was like, okay, I'll bring it back at some point.
See, this is the reason why I don't do YouTube. I've been on the verge of doing a YouTube channel for probably a year now. But when I hear you guys talk about the irritations, shall we say, of editing and stuff like that, it's like, do I want to go back to that again? Because I've done it before, and it is a killer doing the editing, and it's just... I forgot the time to do that.
There isn't. I mean, for me, and I think Chris a little bit as well, once you have a format that you kind of work on, you can almost take the old video project and drop your files in and do your edit from there. So you're starting off from a middle point. You're not starting off from nowhere, and you can production line it kind of thing. So you have to take a day or two to do your actual recording, and then you can just kind of dribble in your evenings, your editing, as you kind of go through. And then I'll have... I've got a batch of 5 videos ready to kind of schedule just now, which will then cover me for the next maybe month and a bit.
Guys, you're forgetting that Pete here makes 17 videos a week.
You're making it sound like such hard work. You've got to remember, I'm 46. I could die at any minute. So do you know what I mean? I can't be tuned with minimum effort, minimum edit, bang it out.
But you have 2023 lined up, haven't you?
I'm stacked until March.
It's madness.
But you do editing, you'll do little bits of a shop you're buying stuff from, and then you'll show your haul from that shop and stuff.
Occasionally wearing a costume too and do a little skit, but that's very occasional.
I haven't done a song for a long time. I need to do a song.
Connie, yes, that's true, you haven't. Connie's referring to her shelves, can't find the comment, being really terrible, and people would unsubscribe. I'm really nosy. I now want you to take a picture, put it on Instagram, and just tag all of us so we can see how bad your shelves look. That sounds really creepy.
It's niche, I suppose.
Big shelves. Anyway, that was a good tangent.
Martin as well. Before we end the tangent, I think I am exactly like G, but the only thing that pushes me out is when I get bored of that format, and then I feel like I have to change it up, or my technology that I'm using and my equipment that I'm using, it starts playing up, and that's when it starts grinding for me. It's the main reason I've started shifting up how I make videos now is because the old equipment I was using was just dead. And so I've had to kind of just change things up and try to refresh things a bit, because I think the worst thing about YouTube is getting bored with yourself.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, you have to make these videos for you. You like editing, or you like creating, or you like talking about something, and then you put it out there. If you're making it for, you know, a higher purpose, it's going to be harder work, I think, and it's going to be more intense. I think if you just go into it, try and satisfy yourself.
In my mind, I have my videos. Like, I feel like I'm Steven Spielberg. Like, I can make these really class videos, and then the product I get at the end it's not Steven Spielberg. So I get really disheartened with it, if you know, and that's why
I literally just do what I enjoy. And at first, it was making the videos, and because, like, you know, I do like learning new things. So learning the editing format, I loved, because I hadn't done it before, never done editing. So I really enjoyed that, and then adding in all the rest of it. At the moment, it's live shows for me, because I get a lot of pleasure out of that. I think if it stops being fun, and if you do start getting stressed by it and stuff like that, you're probably doing something not wrong, but it's maybe not getting you what you want or you need out of it. Do you know what I mean? But I have no doubt that I'll get bored with the lives and move on to something else. You know, like I moved from toys to comics to comics to toys to whatever it may be.
I think for me, that's why I like to have the staple thing kind of as more of a production. And it's not production line in the sense of like I don't care. Like I've read all of these books before I do the overviews of them. Like I've literally, you know, gone through every single one of them. I won't review otherwise. So I won't do a book the day it comes in. I'll make sure that if it's sat on the shelf for like a month until I read it, that's when that video gets made.
I like that, but there's people, I'm not going to say names, I follow them in YouTube, and if they get their book early, they have it read and video out like the same day. I think you couldn't really appreciate that book in day one. You know,
I want to have, as a term my brother would kind of say, like I want to have kind of used the thing with anger, which basically means like use it in the real world. I want to have read it the way I would have read or enjoyed that book, not rushed it or anything like that. And then, but the thing is, with having that production line to an extent of videos that come out once a week, I can then free myself up to do those slightly more extravagant things. So I can do 2 or 3 kind of tutorial videos, or I can do a room tour, or I can do like whatever I want in between that. And if they flop, it doesn't really matter because I have my staples coming out every week.
I've really enjoyed. Sorry, Phil, we've gone off complete tangent. I blame Chris.
It's not my show no more.
I've really enjoyed doing YouTube shorts because they're quick, snappy, easy to do.
Oh, you're gonna anger Highland.
You can just sit on your phone and do them, you know.
Right, Phil, Mark, let's just go away from it. Leave them sort this discussion out amongst themselves.
I've got a filter on my browser that just makes shorts disappear. It's fine.
I don't mind shorts. However, how do I put this? Like, there's a lot of shorts appear in my stuff, and people do like non-comic book related things just for the sake of it. If I am sub to you for comic book stuff or toys, whatever, just give me that. But they do try and do other things as well because it's short. Like they have more freedom, which is fair enough. That's not why I follow you. So like you done the He-Man one today. It was a TikTok, wasn't it? It was on Instagram, the He-Man one. I have the
TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube.
I think shorts are definitely a way to attract more people, and more diverse people. Because my daughters, for example, only watch YouTube shorts. That's it. They don't watch any long form YouTube videos that are not involving Among Us and Minecraft. If you're not involved in those two, you won't be watched on the long haul. But if you're short, you might get in it.
The problem with me doing shorts is that I don't want to become a shorts creator. And in that sense, like I see the value of shorts, like the value of posting a picture or posting a link to a video that's been out for a while. Like I see the value of, you know, teasing people into your content, but I don't want YouTube to be a shorts platform. I don't want to make 5 shorts a week. I want to make my main video, and I want people to watch the main video. I don't mind making a short once a month or something if that got people to then click on the main video. But if they've no intention of going to the main video, then I don't want the shorts. Like that's you know.
I have plans for 2023 to create a TikTok relating to Funko Pops. So you will see a lot of shorts, like Funko Pop shorts, like just open the Funko Pop, you do the wee camera, you zoom it in, you have beating music, and so that is coming.
Unsubscribe.
Oh dear! Just want to say how
Funko Pops.
What? Right, let's just move on. I fell out of love with them. Now I feel like I'm back into it. You know, which is a shame because they cost more than you think they would. I always call you Alb. I'm going to ALB0811 because it sounds cooler. Like you're like, you know, you got like Terminator or something, you know. He's saying we'll catch the video after. I just can't stick around. But thanks for doing all these streams, and hope you have a good new year. All the best for 2023. You too, pal. Thanks very much. And Steve is saying I'm the opposite. I skip all shorts, prefer watching longer videos. So you'd be a fan of Highland G stuff.
But I think that's the point, don't it? Is that shorts offer the diversity of that format, and so it's just offering. I think a lot of people just dislike them because I think for probably the first reasons I dislike them when they're on YouTube is because you automatically assume no, shorts are that other platform, not this platform. And I think it's kind of realizing that a platform can be more than one thing, really. Even
if they just allow people to release short videos as regular YouTube videos, that's fine. But slapping random shorts in all over my feed, and having them autoplay.
I think it's YouTube. I think they wanted to quickly capture like the TikTok craze, didn't they?
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with shorts myself. I think I'm not trying to offend anyone who's younger, but being an old man, like the younger generation, like TikTok, I just don't get. Like, for example, I was on a plane a while ago and the guy was watching a movie on his phone. I'm thinking, how can you watch a movie on your phone? That's like a younger person thing, isn't it? Like they watch things on like a 7-inch
You're
screen.
super old.
Yeah. I close the curtains, have the 60-inch TV, get the slippers on the popcorn, then I watch a movie. I can't watch things on the go on my phone.
It is interesting, but about the exposure it gives you. So, for example, I put a short out from, and sorry, Phil, it is kind of comic related. It's a clip of Robert Downey Jr. at an Avengers press conference where the interviewers ask about 5 different people before they ask him a question, and he goes mental and basically says, if I'm not asked the first question next time, I'm effing walking out. So I did a short of that. On YouTube, I got about 1,000 views. On Instagram, it's at 38,881 views.
There you are, Chris, get those views, mate. Okay.
Is that all?
That's not translated over into subs, but do you know what I mean? But it does make you think about the actual exposure it gives you.
Yeah.
So it is interesting.
The other weird thing is shorts tap into the nature that they created with the knowledge that with the vast digital knowledge of analytics, knowing that people will only watch for about 5 seconds. And so if you get everything blah 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 out in that 5 seconds, then you're done.
Well, the other thing is I read a statistic somewhere that only 10% of YouTube is actually watched with the audio on.
Yeah,
I know. What I love about my favorite analytic for my channel is who turns the subtitles on. I love that one.
Does it tell you who?
No, it tells you percentage-wise, and I love that sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm like, who struggled to understand, or because there's a certain percent that obviously use subtitles anyway, but then there's definitely a substantial.
Then you wonder how accurate the subtitles are if your accent's hard to pick up.
See, this I was going to say.
I've watched my own subtitles
because I've removed subtitles because they've been pretty bad.
Because Connie mentioned doing a YouTube earlier on in the chat, and I was thinking with a Belfast accent, like it's really bad to do. And Chris, I know what you're saying. Yours is obviously, people wouldn't call yours British, but it's a Welsh accent, obviously. They wouldn't say it's like a Brit. They always think like London, don't they? And maybe TripleG and obviously Highland G is the same, like being a different, just not being like a London Brit accent type of thing.
It's not the UK accent, yeah.
But I remember when I first started on YouTube, my friends didn't really know. I told one friend, and I was talking away, and he goes, "Why are you putting on a Canadian accent?" Because I was trying to slow down how I was talking, so people could understand. And there are some words like I took the piss myself today with Pete, and he put the He-Man thing up, and I said, "I have the power," like PARR. Like I can't say power. I can't say power. Like I have the power. You know what I mean? That's how we say it here.
Very different cartoon if you were seeing that.
Exactly. But yeah, so when I first started on YouTube, I was slowing myself down to the point where my friend were like, "You're not Canadian, stop it." And then it was like that episode of Friends where Ross has an accent and has to quickly change it. I tried to filter it out, as the videos went on. But it worked.
Accents are so I've got a bit of a thing about my accent. I'm not now. I just laugh about it now. But when I was younger, I did officer training at RAF Cranwell, and I did my senior officers course, and we had to do a presentation. And the senior officer down there who was marking the presentations commented on my accent and said, basically, you sounded rough. And it's the only time in my life I'm soft as shit. You know what I mean? But it's the only time in my life I was actually aware of having an accent because you just sound like you sound, don't you? Do you know what I mean? And it was the first time I actually thought, oh, maybe I do sound a bit, whatever. But yeah.
You're not soft. I've seen you do shots, Pete. You're
That's another thing making videos. Like listening back to yourself is very different than hearing yourself speak.
Oh yeah.
Like
you just reminded me when I first started doing YouTube videos when I was in work during lockdown for work. So I work in a museum. So I did some historical. Yeah, see, you better have subscribed to my.
I was on Facebook. I think I found it. Facebook. Stalker.
Stalking me, see. But yeah. Are we gonna put that weirdness aside for a second?
Yes. Okay. Sorry.
Okay. But yeah, no, I started doing videos for it, and there was one guy who commented. I did like a history video, and he said, "I can't believe this guy. What a fake South Wales accent. It's all over the place. It doesn't know whether it's North Wales, Mid Wales, South Wales. Why are you bothering putting on an accent? All in caps." And I was just like, this is my voice. This is my voice. I don't know what I've done here. That's going to give me a proper complex. Yeah. I was just like, how am I coming across to people when
I mean, I will apologise for that now, Chris. I mean, it was unkind at the
time. Folks, for anyone new watching this is why we can never get this show under the hour. We've had like a 25-minute tangent about YouTube and voices and shorts. Here we go, Chris.
Push on, Chris. Push on.
The Treasure of the Black Swan. Now, I picked this because this was definitely one of my favourite reads of 2022. It came out in 2022, but again, that's not why we picked it, because we could have just read it. But I have got a video on my amazing YouTube channel about this, so if there's anyone in the chat that hasn't subscribed, get over there. Don't watch this crap. Watch that.
We are bleeding subscribers. We're the most hated group in the UK community. We need them.
I've got the same 7 people in rotation. Don't worry. So, but I picked this up because the premise of it sounded really great to me more than anything. Because I love non-fiction stories, but particularly I like non-fiction stories when they're more amazing than the fantasy stories and the fiction stories that I can read. Like, if I can find a story that's more amazing and thrilling and interesting than fiction, it impresses me even more, if that makes sense. But so I read this, and because it's a kind of mishmash of history and political intrigue and thriller, I just picked it up and it was amazing. But it's all about the Black Swan, but the Black Swan isn't a ship. It's actually a nickname that's given to this mythical thing that seafaring architects, I don't know what they specifically called architects on sea, underwater architects, that type of thing. They are always looking for an unspoilt wreck under the ocean. So something that is preserved perfectly, and that's what they call a black swan. And so something that is mythical and hard to find, a black swan. And they found this wreck off the coast of Gibraltar, this American salvage team, and then transported it to Florida, and it was just a bounty of just, gold and silver, loads of stuff. But then obviously they had taken it from waters that they weren't necessarily allowed to be in, and so it starts this whole political wrangling between the Spanish government trying to reclaim their heritage and between this American salvage company, and that's what this book is detailing, really. It's drawn by Paco Rocco, and written by Guillermo Corral.
Pete's buying it.
Pete's buying it now.
Apparently it's being made into an EMC TV series as well.
Yeah, I think it has actually been made. I'm not sure whether it's come out.
It says on the book. It's got a sticker.
Yeah. I took the sticker off. But yeah, Paco Rocco is a Spanish artist, and I'm glad they picked him to do this kind of Spanish tale. Can't see. But he's a fabulous artist, like really simplistic, straightforward art. But it impressed me how just engaging it was. I couldn't really put it down once I picked it up. I just kind of flew through it all in one sitting. Like I sat down for a couple of hours and just enjoyed this story of them finding the ship, of them then proving that the ship is Spanish, and then finding the treasure and bringing it back to Spain, and all this kind of intrigue. It was just a really, really great read, and it's out only in hardback at the moment, I think, by Fantagraphics Books. But it's a great book. There you go.
Here's an issue
I'm
idea.
exhausted.
Persuading Pete to buy books.
Enabling Pete.
And yes, that's the word. That's what Chris says. He's not an influencer. He's an enabler. That's it.
The fourth episode of what's the Omnifuss is about is going to be an intervention.
Oh dear. No, the impression I get, Chris, a lot of stuff you buy. I just think you pretty much will hone in anything that Fantagraphics or Dark Horse would produce, pretty much, because you tend to like all of it. I don't think there's that much that you wouldn't.
It's strange how there's so much Dark Horse in particular. I do think I myself sometimes that I like exclusively like hone in on Dark Horse, but then I realize there's so much Dark Horse stuff that I never even give the time of day, like the Buffy stuff, the Avatar line, so much stuff. I mean, they even do like a Disney Frozen line, which I haven't touched upon yet. But and the same with Fantagraphics. But I think they seem to be publishers that have those gems that make me talk about them far more forcefully than other publishers. Like for you, with Spider-Man and things like that. They have those real special books. And even though, they publish a load of stuff that I'm never going to read, now and again, my two favorite characters are Dark Horse exclusives, or were for a time anyway. Hellboy and Usagi.
Arigato. Yeah. I know you more than you probably know yourself. I've stalked you on Facebook. I know everything about you.
There you go. Concern, Chris, to be honest. I would be changing your passwords and things with him.
I know. The problem is I enable him as well. I kind of like it in a way, so it's fine.
Yeah. The good thing with a lot of the Dark Horse and Fantagraphics books is they're like complete graphic novels. So as Pete was saying earlier, they're nice, complete stories. It's not like you have to keep reading on and buying lots of volumes.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
Well, Hellboy is quite a large universe, isn't it? Really.
I mean, there are some series like Avatar and Hellboy and things like that, but I'm just saying like some of the.
It's Avatar. Is that the anime? It's not the movie license. It's not the movies. It's the anime. The Last Airbender. Is that
Airbender?
Yeah. The Airbender. Yeah. There's loads of library editions of them out. Loads of comic lines that Dark Horse published them, and the Hellboy universe is gigantic. But I really honed in on that because years ago I bought like the BPRD hardbacks, and I kind of went down a rabbit hole of getting the Mignolaverse. And I didn't like it as much as the main Hellboy series, and so now I cherry pick out of that universe. But to be honest, I would be happy if they only did those like 7 library editions of Hellboy. I'd be fine with them because they are the top cream of the crop.
See, I've grabbed a few things outside of the main run, like Young Hellboy and some of the latest hardcovers that have come out, like the Lantern Club.
Yes, that's good. And Young Hellboy was it really impressed me actually how good a pulpy adventure story it was. Like it was really fun.
I just think there's so much to the Hellboy's universe, and I think it frustrates me as well that the BPRD series, they won't reprint them in hardcovers. That's frustrating me.
You genuinely don't need them, or you just read Hellboy and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
They don't tie in at all, really, to be honest. Like if they didn't exist, the Hellboy story wouldn't lose anything at all.
Okay.
But then equally, if BPRD existed and the Hellboy series didn't exist, that wouldn't lose anything. They're very self-contained and separate. But you get little nuggets between the two, but nothing really major, I don't think, to be honest.
Oh, it makes me feel a bit better because it is a bit daunting. It's like what you guys have said before about big series. That's why I've only got the main library editions for Hellboy, because I was a little nervous about going further out. I've dipped my toes. You know, I've got a few little hardcovers and stuff, but when it comes to like the new BPRD omnibuses that have come out, I was like, oh, do I start getting them? You know,
I read a bit online. Online, because if you like the BPRD, like Hellboy, like 2 or 3 volumes of Hellboy are very self-contained short stories, and so you could even read them without ever knowing who Hellboy is. Do you know what I mean? You could literally pick up like a 6 to 8 page story and just jump in there and go, oh, that was a good quick story. But then I think for the most part, the BPRD is really one very long narrative that goes over like 4 or 5 different omnibuses now. Well, at least the first part, Plague of Frogs, is like 4 omnibuses, and then Hell on Earth is 5, I think. But they are very much like, you couldn't pick up volume 3 of BPRD and be happy. You would be confused. You would have to start with one, whereas Hellboy, you can kind of jump in at different points, really. Like, there are exceptions, don't get me wrong, but it is a bit more accessible, and it doesn't rely so much on the long form story. You can kind of start it. Like, if you picked up like the one where Mike Mignola stops drawing and Duncan Fregredo, I can't remember his name now, he starts drawing and it's Darkness Calls and the Wild Hunt. If you were to read those 2 stories individually, they would stand. You wouldn't really need the either side, really. They're quite contained. And so, yeah, I wouldn't be too worried. I cherry pick loads with the Hellboy universe, and it doesn't.
See, I've never read Hellboy, but I always thought Hellboy kind of worked like the sort of Black Hammer universe, where you've got Hellboy, which is like the main series, and then the BPRD is like its own thing, which is like the Elseworlds sort of.
The World of the Black Hammer type thing.
Yeah, World of Black Hammer stories, yeah.
Yeah. No, it is exactly like that. Like, if you look at the library editions of Black Hammer, volume 1 and 2 are a continuation story, and the World of Black Hammer, pick them up if you want, but you don't need to have them. And you could pick up World of Black Hammer volume 3 and not even bother with volume 1, because they're self-contained stories, and similar to that. But I certainly think BPRD is the one series that you would definitely need to read in chronological order, because that really relies on that long narrative going through. There we go.
Nice.
You should be on commission for Dark Horse, I tell you.
Yeah, you should be. Pete, what have you bought there? Did you buy the Black Swan book and Hellboy?
No, I'm not a fan of Hellboy. Sorry.
Oh,
that's right.
Don't say sorry. Don't say sorry to me. Say sorry to Chris. No, that's not me.
I'm not a fan of TripleG comics.
I like crime stories, but Hellboy's not something that's ever like really jumped out at me.
Hellboy's a weird one. I think I would like to, but again, it's one of those things. There's so many, like you mentioned, all these different kind of sub things that you need or you don't need, and whatever else is like, just tell me what to read. And
that does become daunting as well, which is why I kind of like tackle each thing one at a time. Yeah. So I kind of took Invincible, and then I kind of started taking on, sort of Usagi. Now I've got to kind of the tail end of that. I also kind of tried Fables. Yeah. Like there's just so many things that are like this that are long series but have spin-offs, and you kind of have to choose how you want to take them on. And because you're better to kind of focus on one at a time.
Because or 2 at a time. Because they're out before I was reading comics, essentially. It's like you're having to go back. Like an example for like modern day stuff with Image Comics, there's a thing called the Massive Verse. So it's like Radiant Black, what's the Dead Lucky, there's Radiant Red. It's called that. So it's the guy who made the Power Rangers books, done the Power Rangers.
Kyle
Higgins. So he created this whole big superhero universe. So I feel like I was there before it happened. So I can get on top of that. I'm collecting Radiant Black single issues. I'm going to buy all the trades for all the different spin-offs, like Rogue Sun and all the rest of them, just so I have it all.
They're technically not spin-offs, so what he's trying to create is like a DC
it's just
universe.
So it is.
Separate books.
Yeah, you don't. Scott was explaining to me that you don't actually need them, but I feel like I want them just because like I can then be proudly on top of this.
So there'll be event books, there'll be crossover books, like they did the Massive Verse book or whatever it was. But you would read whatever book you're reading and the Massive Verse. You wouldn't read everything necessarily.
Yeah. But yeah, we're going to move on because we're now 25 minutes in, and I haven't got my picks yet, and we've got questions for the best TV show and movies for the year. So we need to answer that question too. So, I have 3 books. I'm going to say in quick succession because
you give us one. You give us one.
Mike, if we have time, if he's one,
just because we'll never get back to him.
I'm happy.
You're allowed one. You're allowed one, and that's it. If you have more than one, I'm leaving now.
No, you can't do that. You're
one
Star Trection. If you leave, the 4 people in the chat leave too.
I was on near-mint condition this week. I'll have you know.
Yeah. Anyway, so the first, I'll give a nod to it. It's a 36-year-old book, and that's only read it last week, and that's Daredevil Born Again. The first time I've ever read that book. We read it this week for the Nerd Herd, and I just thought that was phenomenal. So much so that I scored it quite low because I feel like I want to hold back because I know I'm going to read this again, and I'm going to score it high with a second, third reread. Phenomenal story, fantastic art, and yeah, so it's a 36-year-old book. I read it this week for the first time, and it was phenomenal. I know, Chris, you scored it high. Martin, you scored it the same as me. Pete, I can't remember if you scored it or not, but I think we all quite agree that it's pretty spectacular, and it's a classic. Yeah, so
loved it.
First time read it this year, absolutely loved it. Fantastic. And
I don't know. I can't even remember the mindset I was in. That was my first Daredevil book. Like imagine having that as your first Daredevil book. Introduction to the character is at the destruction of the character. Like, but I loved it from that like opening scene where Karen was like in that smoky room with the blinds. Oh, it's so good, so good.
But
that just had me right from that.
Just from watching other YouTube influencers who talk about how good that book is and how like there's no point kind of almost like reading before the Frank Miller run. You might as well just start from Frank Miller and move forward with that because it changed the character, I suppose, because he's not swashbuckling or anything. He's not what's the word I'm looking for? It's not quite as the campy version of Batman, but it's not too far off.
Swashbuckling is perfect. I think that's the perfect.
Where now we have the kind of dark, edgier, gritty stuff, and even though
I think it depends if you're reading for like a continuity or if you're just reading for fun stories. Like it's okay to read random stories from whatever era you want if you want to just enjoy the stories for what they are. But if you want to have an ongoing continuity, then a lot of things have starting points like Frank Miller or New 52 or something like that.
Well, it's the same thing even with Batman. Like I don't think I've read anything pre Frank Miller Batman, to be honest.
No, you haven't read any like Danny O'Neill or
no, I honestly haven't. I keep meaning to because I know that wasn't too far before Frank Miller. Sure, it wasn't. That was the same.
No, like there's a great Batman the Cult with Bernie Wrightson on that. That's great.
There's a one as well. I can't remember. I think it was a standalone graphic novel. Is it Son of the Demon? Which is phenomenal. The opening scene of that, I remember reading it where I think he's in a chemical factory or something, and the guy shoots at his cape and hits the pipe, and it sprays stuff in his face. Just amazing. The artwork's stunning.
I'll get on them because
I think the Demon trilogy by Mike Barr, I think it was.
Well, that's where Damian Wayne initially came from, isn't it? I'm sure that's the kind of the start of that.
Because he had his illicit affair in the desert because he's got his Batman mask on and his chest out because he's just been having a sword fight, and he's a hairy chested man. And me and Martin are represented, by the way.
I feel like me, Martin, and Highland G, the same age group, we're quite glad we asked the old fogies to come on so they could recommend these old Batman books.
Insult after insult.
I know.
See, that's the thing.
It's desperation. It's desperation.
It's just jealousy.
He knows that we're the cool ones.
Yeah, that's what it is.
See, I would read these stories if it's a character I like. I will quite happily go back to the 40s, 50s and read those books. But it's the character that's got to draw me in.
Yeah.
If I don't like the character, I'm not going to go back and read the beginnings.
Well, that's what takes me back to a lot of the Infinite Crisis sort of era stuff with Wally West and that, because I feel that was the peak of his character.
Oh, absolutely. And I tell you, for Batman, a real good read for Batman is things like No Man's Land. I mean, that for me at the time was superb,
Yeah, but there's like 3 omnibus for that. Like there's like Road and No Man's Land, there's No Man's Land, and then there was something all stuff afterwards.
Skip the road too. Just read No Man's Land.
Yeah.
100% skip the road too, by the way.
Yeah.
That's definite. Get straight into the earthquake and you're all right.
Yeah.
But no,
Road 2 has
I
too much side stuff. Just skip it.
I remember. I think I've always gone with creator rather than character. Weirdly,
Right.
like if you look at Frank Miller, I read my brother give me Dark Knight Returns, and then I followed him to Born Again, to Sin City, and so on and so forth. And I've always followed creators rather than characters because, and that's done me well because I've never got into like what G was just saying now about having that need to retrace the character or to look at the character origins or this or that. Because I'm following the creator. He does his bit on the character, and then I move with him.
But,
or
I mean, I would do a little bit of both. Like I would buy the Brubaker arc of, say, Iron Fist, or of Daredevil, or of Captain America. But then, if I really love that run of Captain America for the character, I might then search out other Captain America runs. But I would only tried Captain America because of Ed Brubaker. Like it's like a mixed.
Some of the weird Captain America's good, but we can all agree that Frank Miller lost it with Batman Master Race, can't we? I mean, that's just an absolute.
He lost it with Holy Terror, which was
yeah. Just stepped off the edge, didn't he? Really, at that point.
Am I right by saying
in
he
fairness
did write
to
it
him,
all,
though? No, in fairness to him, he's in New York in 9/11.
Oh yeah.
And he's a grumpy old bastard. Anyway, he's going to be a bit extreme. So, not to make excuses, but if I was going to expect something like that of anyone, it would be Frank Miller.
I'm pretty certain. What was the Superman book he written as well? It's a fairly recent one, I think. Maybe it's a Black Label one. I'm pretty certain he's on a Superman book.
Oh, he did it. He did art.
Year one.
Horrific art.
Was it year one?
Year one.
That was John Romita Jr. wasn't it on the art?
I'm thinking of some Frank Miller covers where his Wonder Woman just looked like she'd been hit with a shovel.
Yeah,
it was just horrific.
I feel like Frank Miller's stuff is always weird and screwed up. It just so happens occasionally he hits it on the head and people think it's amazing. Like, I don't think he has a consistency of awesome. I think he just has a few gems that have happened to hit that point in his mind of wildness where everything else is going on.
Well, now no one will work with him, so he has his own stuff going because no one wants to work with him anymore. So he has his
and
own
some of it's even crazier. Like
he's a bit like Grant Morrison in that some of when he hits it well, it's amazing. But then there's a large proportion of his stuff which is unreadable almost.
I would agree that, I mean, even for somebody like me who does enjoy some of the slightly weirder Grant Morrison stuff, it's still 50-50.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, I love Grant Morrison as well. I love Frank Miller, but I cannot read a lot of their output. But I think it's a kind of periodical thing. I think they go through waves of influences or focus, and their output is then amazing. But that's not a consistent thing. Like if you look at Frank Miller's output, between Dark Knight Returns, Born Again, and Batman, and his Daredevil run overall, like that chunk is pretty outstanding. And then, going into Sin City, but then coming out with 300 and all the other, it kind of goes a bit skewy. But I think Sin City is so good because artistically it was so strong in terms of like it was so definitive, black and white, intense noir. Like the dialogue is fairly mundane and crap, but artistically it's amazing.
I love the world of Sin City. I love Sin City. I love it that much. I bought it twice. So I've got the big dam, and then up in the corner up there, I've got the deluxes I've rebought.
I know, they're amazing. It's an amazing thing. But again, I think it's one of those things that the writing of that would never stand on its own. Whereas if you kind of put Dark Knight Returns, for example, with a different artist, it would probably survive in some respectable way. Yeah. But Sin City, I don't think would. I think it needed that really strong artistic integrity going behind it, and
for some people, the experience of the art is more important than the story in some ways, or than the dialogue.
Frank Miller write All-Star Batman, or was that?
Yeah,
because that was pretty bad as well.
Jim Lee, it was unfinished as well. In his fairness, no, it was All-Star Batman was Frank Miller and Jim Lee. But it was it was very much unfinished by the end. I think they had ideas and this is the problem when you get two such high paid creative people and the series is not selling, it will be shit because they like, oh, this investment's going bad, and then they have to rush it and change it. There were certain little snippets of All-Star Batman that were good, but then it just fell apart in so many other places.
I referenced the book earlier, and you're right, Martin. It's Superman Year One. It was a Black Label book, and it is Frank Miller who wrote the book and John Romita Jr. who penciled it. I am not a John Romita Jr. fan. That was a horrible, horrible book. Never buy that. Never buy Superman Year One. Horrible.
He did very good on Man Without Fear, though. I think the pay did very good on Man Without Fear. That's a great little short story, and that was a massive influence on the Daredevil Netflix series.
Yeah,
that book.
Right.
Visually, every level.
You mentioned following certain creators and so on. That's obviously good advice, and it's something I do with this guy who I'm going to show off next. That's Daniel Warren Johnson. So my hands down, in terms of the books that came out this year in single issues, is Do a Powerbomb. It is the best book this year, and I'll fight you all for that mantle because it is phenomenal.
You're restless all for that.
Yeah, it's a wrestling book, but you don't have to be a wrestling fan to appreciate it. I don't think. Well, yes, you would appreciate it more if you love wrestling yourself. But what this is a story where a girl whose mom was a famous wrestler who died with a move going wrong. And whenever she goes older, she wants to follow in her mom's footsteps. The dad wants to stop that and prevent this from happening. But then it gets a bit kind of mystical and magical, whatever, because this guy called, I want to say the Necromancer or the Necro, somebody another. He says, listen, come and play in my tournament on this other world place. Play in my tag team tournament, and if you win, we can bring back someone from the dead. So she goes this to try and win back her mum.
You shocked me there because I didn't realize it was going down that road because I'm waiting on the trade.
It's got to be those. I'm not just saying this. Like, I'm buying the trade too. I don't know if it'll ever come in a deluxe oversized hardcover. The art's phenomenal. I'll show some of it in a second. It's Daniel Warren Johnson. You know what to expect with his art. Last year, my favorite book was Better Ray Bill, the miniseries he done.
That's good.
And this is taking the mantle again. But so yeah, what happens? She enrolls the guy who actually accidentally killed her mum as her tag team partner. There's a few twists and turns. One of the things, I'm not trying to spoil this, but the guy who has the tournament he's been watching wrestling for years. He's a big fan. He doesn't realize that it's not real. He doesn't think it's not scripted. So he organizes this tournament for people from all different universes, whatever else, but thinks it's real, and it is. So they're in like a real wrestling tournament. And
I was going to ask the last time you said that. Do we know that he thinks it's not real?
Yes, because they I think they get caught out in like the first bout. It's like, oh, okay. What are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Type of thing. Who determines the winner or whatever else. But it's just
like a surprise halfway through where it's like, oh no,
a surprise for them, not the reader. No, just a surprise for them.
Okay.
But this, I can try and demonstrate this as best I can. Like, again, some of the shots, like the jumping off the ring onto tables, it's just, it's Daniel Warren Johnson. Just being Daniel Warren Johnson.
Hopefully it does get a deluxe then, because that would look much better.
Yeah.
Like,
well,
oversized.
It's 7 issues, so you can do a deluxe of 7 issues. I'm sure you can. I've bought them before, so I'm going to buy the trade paperback, and I will buy the deluxe if it ever comes out. But it's just phenomenal storytelling, and it keeps things quite tight. A lot of surprises, but again, I don't give anything else away. But we've read Daniel Warren Johnson. You know,
who's publishing it?
Image. Yeah, Image.
Yeah, so an Image deluxe would be nice. Yeah, I say as long as it's not a DC deluxe, because some of their bindings crap in the deluxes.
So it's just like, you're gonna like be a bit choked up at times. There's a few moments where you think, oh, this is lovely, but tragic at the same time. Again, just some of the outstanding art. It's just phenomenal. He's a wrestling fan, so you can tell he's a wrestling fan himself because he put that his love for wrestling into this book. But definitely, I mean, I can't speak any more highly about this. I think I mentioned this every month so far, but it's actually now concluded. So now I can safely say you need to buy this book.
Yeah,
You need to get it
on
when
the
it comes
list.
out.
How many issues is it? in
Weirdly
full?
for that book,
Seven.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, Chris.
Yeah, weirdly for that book, I've been watching it be created over months and months and months and months because he's got a YouTube channel and every Friday
Friday with
he
D-dubs.
goes live like inking, and I'm always putting that on and having a look because and it blows my mind like how kind of creative he is with the pages and how much thought and process goes into the creation of it. But honestly, I think like do a power bomb is probably strong, but I still think that he is going to do something that's out of this world soon, Daniel Warren. I really do think because Dead Earth was amazing. Extremity was really strong. I think I loved the both volumes of Extremity, and I think he's got something.
It's like he's building to something because he's tried like 5 or 6 different avenues, and they're all like building a foundation of like skill sets and things that he can talk about. And you just wonder what if he put 3 or 4 of them together.
Yeah, like if you look at like Murder Falcon and all these things, I think he's the one to watch coming in the year or two. He'll come out with something.
You say one to watch. I hope he doesn't because he's done like the Jurassic League with DC. Which didn't quite hit as well as some others. It's still really good, but
I think that's the case of someone coming to him.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. I don't want him to deviate from his plan.
No, you don't want him to become the next DC writer. You want him to keep doing his own stuff because that's my slight disappointment with Dan Mora's stuff recently. Is he's become like DC's read designer for their characters. So even if he's not writing the book, he's doing all the art for that. So he's not got the time to do his own solo stuff.
It's like Daniel Warren Johnson done the Better Ray Bill, but it's one of those things I think they give him a free rein with that because they weren't doing anything.
They definitely did because it was the same as Dead Earth. They approached him and asked him, who does he want to draw? Who does he want to do? And like Wonder Woman Dead Earth is definitely them coming to him and he went, oh, I've got a really good idea for a Wonder Woman story. And then him doing that. They didn't come to him and go, oh, we want you to do a Wonder Woman story. It was probably the last thing that they were thinking of he was going to say, to be fair. Oh, I want to do a Wonder Woman story. And then it turns out to be amazing.
Did you see Dan Mora's drawing on Instagram where he did a drawing of the Power Rangers and the Turtles, but the Turtles are in the Power Rangers outfits and the Power Rangers are actually like mutated to be their actual dinosaurs, and it's just badass.
It looks cool. It does look cool. I'm looking forward to that because I've got the first trade of the first crossover. So
see, that's the thing. Dan Moore is another one as well. Because he was on the Batman books. Was it Detective he was on, or was it Batman itself?
Detective, I think.
Detective. Yeah. So again, you don't want these creators to don't give them too much too early. We're enjoying what they're doing. Let that happen. I get it's a big money payday for them to go to the big two, and especially being on Batman, you're going to get paid more money. I get that. It's all about making the dollar, but for us as enthusiasts of the art, I just want to keep them where they're at, and whatever makes them tick, just that's it. Stay there. Don't go anywhere else.
I mean, I do like seeing him do art for a whole run in something that's quite nice because you tend to see him doing covers and things like that. So, outside of Klaus and what was it Once in Future or something? There's 2 books that he's done the actual art all the way through. Most of it's been DC stuff that's actually got him to do longer runs, and that's been quite cool. Because
even with Detective, I think there's a guy called that's a Croatian sounding name, I forget his name, but he actually stepped in for him for Dan Moore in between arcs. But his art style is very similar, really similar, not quite as good. I feel bad for saying that, but not Dan Moore level, but they stood in for him. So you don't have that kind of jarring effect where you're going from Dan Moore art to something completely different and then back to Dan Moore.
The thing with the DC stuff is they'll have a colorist over the top of both arts.
Is he one of the 5 people watching, Chris? That guy?
Yeah.
Bogdanovich. I think that's it. Could be wrong.
So if you have the same colorist all the way through, it keeps the book kind of looking consistent as well, even if your artist or your pencilist kind of changes.
Yeah, 100%. Again, I think because is it Marco Cicchetto is really good too, but sometimes his books they switch out through arcs, but his is so different than what they've done before. And when he comes back onto it, you're like, thank God he's back, because the stuff in between was a really good story, but the art was horrendous in comparison. Not horrendous.
I almost notice a change in colorist more than I do artist on some of the mainstay books. Yeah.
Folks, if anyone who obviously knows that we tend to go for a long time. Pete, I'm just checking in. Is it near your bedtime or anything?
How dare you?
You
know what? As you were talking there, I was distracted by Chris getting up and the fact that Chris has got like an old man blanket on his legs, and nobody's mentioned that.
I was thinking that.
Nobody.
It's cold, all right. It's cold, and I'm poor. I spent all my money on books.
He's sitting in for the long run here, because he's used to these long hauls.
He's done the show before. He's got a picnic next to him, a blanket. He's set.
Honestly, I wish I had. But the blanket is okay for now, and the wine.
Well, what I'm going to do, I'm going to one more book, and then if you just want to do another round again, and we'll try and be a bit quicker, maybe, to see, because I like talking.
Whoa. We'll try and be a bit quicker. We are the ones who picked 3.
Yes, but I was going to be really quick, and he's went on all these different tangents. And now
but you picked 3.
You're in control here, Phil. It's your channel.
Exactly.
Unbelievable.
But Chris, please stay, because we're glad to have you here. This obviously came out early 2000s. I think it was like 2001. But the reprint, I think it fell towards the end of last year. I only read this year. We read volume 1 for the Nerd Herd, and I continued it on. This is phenomenal. Like, why is it taking me so long to read this? This is the old one, Spider-Man. Volume 1, Omnibus, yeah. So this is the reprint one. I think volume 2 is due next month, I believe.
Yeah, I think January 21st.
It was put back. Yeah, it was put back. I think it was meant to be December, but it was put back. So, like, what I will say, there's parts of this book, they obviously made this book to be like a modern day Spider-Man story, but they talk about like DVDs and things. Like, are they going to do this again? Have like the cloud and TikTok? Do you know what I mean? Are we doing a revamp of Spider-Man again? But I thought this was really, really good.
There kind of is in the Spider-Gwen and all that stuff. They have all the modern phones and things.
See, you mentioned Gwen. See about this here, which kind of threw me off. And I don't know. I've never seen Gwen Stacy like this, but her first appearance in this book, she like attacks one of the bullies with like a flick knife, and she's all dressed like leather outfits and belly button pierced. Like, it's just such a weird thing. Like, I'm not used to this as Gwen Stacy, but that's something that everyone has it. Like, the characters are all look a wee bit different as you'd expect, but they act quite similar to what you would know from the movies and stuff as well. But yeah, this is really good. The stuff of Dr. Otto Octavius was great. Even the stuff of Venom, it's again a different take on Venom and how Venom becomes Venom, and it's just different what I'm used to. I'm not sure I don't like any more or any less than what I'm used to with the Alien symbiote, but this is great, and I'm pretty certain we've all read this.
Mark Bagley art, isn't it? Love
Mark Bagley art. The art's a bit strange though. Like, there's touches of John Romita Jr. in it. Some of the faces aren't the best in my opinion, but when he draws Spider-Man, he does have quite gangly and weird proportions, whatever else. Still really, really good and love it. I mentioned earlier on, I read the first omnibus from Amazing Spider-Man from the Silver Age stuff, and I'm only a third way through it because it's hard. This, you could fly through this really quickly. Really, really good. And I read it this year, and it's coming to volume 2. I'm just hoping it continues on with the same level of, what's the word? Joy? It's just a sheer joy. Like, everyone was great.
Have you read the series before? Sorry.
No, this is the first time I read it.
I'll not spoil it for you then, but obviously the last mini series is pretty heartbreaking, but it's very well done. Very, very well done.
I'm intrigued actually how they are going to collect, if they are going to actually block the end, because they actually did like a separate hardcover omnibus for the end of the series before, and then went straight into Miles' story. And so I'm wondering if they're going to reprint that, or if they're going to lump it in as like a 4 or volume 5 or something like that. So I'm
just going to go off the back of something that Omar said on his live stream last week. Certain titles, like that particular one you're talking about, they're going to be putting numbers on the back of a volume like they do with the epics.
Mm-hmm.
So they will probably re-release that omnibus with that title and have volume 3, 5, 6, whatever it is on the back of this series, so you know it goes with that series. But I'm not saying it because that title is a massive spoiler.
Yeah, don't.
Yeah. It's like the Captain America volumes. I mean,
The death of Captain America. Yeah,
and lives.
Captain America lives. Yeah.
Okay.
And they announced Volume 4 reprint next year, which I'm very excited about. So I can start reading that as well.
I mean, there's very few Marvel omnibuses that I am in day one, and like I was telling you the other week, I can't remember whether me and Martin and you were talking about it off stream or on stream, but I'm intimidated about the Ultimate Spider-Man because I know I want it, but it's like how big is that collection going to be? How is that going to be like 4 or 5 omnibuses because they are chunky boys, and then running out of space. And so I'm intimidated by it, but equally, I can't imagine not buying it. I really can't imagine not buying it.
Have you only read this first one then, the volume?
No, I've read beyond that digitally, and I've read I haven't read right. Well, I haven't read right till the end, but then I jumped in at the end as well, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so I jumped in at the title that no one wants to say there, and then read into Miles. And Miles for me is the best Spider-Man without a shadow of doubt. Miles.
Because I'm busting to read the Miles stuff, and that's one of the reasons why I want to power through this. So I'll get the volume 2. And I might read on digitally because I think we get that Marvel Unlimited just to read through it, and then.
Oh, if you've got Marvel Unlimited, just crack on.
I haven't yet. I'm debating buying it just so I could read this stuff. I know there are other means to read this stuff online, but I like to keep things legit, So Marvel Unlimited, I might do that, and then obviously just plow through with the Miles stuff. Just want to say hello to Glenn. Hey Glenn, how you doing, buddy? He's also agreeing with me that Ultimate Spider-Man's so good, and he's waiting for volumes 2 and 3.
It is so good.
Yeah,
I mean, and I love how you compared it there to the Silver Age stuff and the Stanley and Steve Ditko stuff because it is hard. It is. You can't dance around it. It's brilliant to look back at it and to read it, but it is so much more straightforward, and it flows so much better. Like even if you look at the relationship between Mary Jane and Peter Parker, I mean. They're honest with each other and open, and they talk about it just feels more of a relationship rather than a 100-issue. Is he Spider-Man? Isn't he Spider-Man? Is he Spider-Man?
It's interesting, isn't it?
It was quite early on that he told her, wasn't it? It was quite early on.
It's straight away.
It's interesting how the other Ultimate lines I don't think hit that high for me. Ultimate Fantastic Four, other than introducing the Marvel zombies, was a bit flash, and X-Men was pretty dire.
I was going to ask this question next because Ultimate X-Men Volume 1 came out maybe a month or so back, and I haven't bought it, but I was thinking, I like the idea of the X-Men, but again, there's so much stuff swim beyond it. Is the Ultimate X-Men not...
It's a long time since I've read it. I read it at the time, and I've not read it since, but I remember not being particularly keen on it. I think there's a team-up book as well, which is quite good. Ultimate Team-Up or something, which is like anthology kind of tales and things like that.
There's the Ultimate
Ultimate X-Men. The X-Force stuff's a better option than the Ultimate stuff.
Sorry, Ultimates is phenomenal. Volume 1 and 2, I think. And then it goes nuts after that.
2 kind of goes a bit nuts, fine.
Yeah.
If but then it goes omnibus wise.
But then it goes into kind of incest with Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver and stuff, doesn't it? And it goes mental at that point.
Honestly, it's the worst thing to read beyond. As mad as it sounds, like the Mark Miller Brian Hitch run is all you need. You don't need to go beyond that because it does start to get very weird. Very weird. That's why I think that Ultimate Spider-Man has that consistency right the way through because the creators remain the same. Brian
the whole way through it's the same.
The entire way. Every single issue.
Didn't Bagley step off at some point? I think Bagley's last issue was 100 and something, wasn't it?
No, for literally up until Miles Morales starts to come in. It's pretty much an unbroken run. There may well be 1 or 2, but for the vast majority, it's a dual head of those two.
And that's for one. I'm excited for Volume 2.
And that's what makes a lot of people stick with these series. When you've got a good creative team that started good from the get-go and you're getting that consistency, even as far as 100 and something issues, it brings people in.
Well, you look at Ultimates, Brian Hitch and Mark Miller, that's a marriage made in heaven. Because Mark Miller writes it in a very, very cinematic, over-the-top way. And Brian Hitch draws in a very cinematic, over-the-top way. And so you put them together and they just sing. They really do.
Brian Hitch, I also have him confused with David Finch. Who's the one who has it? They do live streams on a Monday. Is it David Finch or Brian Hitch?
It's David Finch, I think, on it.
Is it? Okay, yeah. I like his live streams as well, yeah. But sure,
Is it David Finch or Brian
I
Hitch?
don't know, I'm really confused.
I don't know why you watch him.
I think it is, because I think he says he calls them like the Fears of the Finchers or something like this. So maybe it is David Finch is the guy who does the like Monday night live stream.
Well, David Finch is the director, the guy who done like Zodiac and Fight Club.
Or then maybe this guy I'm thinking of draws comics.
No, you thinking of David Finch, the comic book artist.
So the shows about comic books.
Yeah, well, it's getting late. Carry on.
We've another round to go. What do you guys want? I'm happy to continue, but I don't have a bed to go to because I'm not welcome all the time.
I got a bed.
I'm good.
I'm good.
I'm good.
Push through.
PG, some coffee, some hot milk or something.
No, I'm fine. I've got my Coke on standby.
That kind of night. Okay, Martin, you up next? You go.
Obviously, unprepared. Sticking on, funny enough, the Mike Miller theme. Another book that was on the Nerd Herd. Not giving Phil a big head when I bring this one up.
Oh yes,
The Magic Order. What a read this was this year. I have to admit it. I did have my negative opinion to it when I first saw it, and I thought, this is going to be shit. But it ended up being amazing.
Yeah. That's the things I remember whenever I picked it, and it was like my last pick for the Nerd Herd for the year. And I think I'd said to you on a live stream, I might take top spot. And you're like, no, I don't think so. Not a chance. Because by looking at it at first glance, you wouldn't think it. But the first volume of that was, it's great. It's outstanding. It really is. Now, what I will say, the volume 2, the artist changed. So we're talking about like having people who have like a long run and books together. Volume 2
Who's
is
the artist on volume 1?
Olivia Coppell.
Oh, I know he done some Batman. He did. He's done some X-Men.
But I can't think who it is in volume 2. Immonen or something.
Stuart Immonen, is it?
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, he's the one for volume 2.
Yeah, Stuart Immonen.
Yeah, and
he's good.
It's still nice, but it's not the same. It's not the same by looking, and that's the only thing. But yeah, I thought Magic Order was it was one of the first things I started collecting the single issues when I first got into comic books, and it was phenomenal. Loved it, absolutely loved it. I think you Highland G, TripleG, and Chris, you haven't read it.
I've not read it yet. I'm picking it up.
Oh, no, definitely read it.
I watched the Nerd Herd video, but I haven't actually read it.
It's something like
what put me off it. I think because didn't this start out as like a TV series and a comic simultaneously?
Basically, Mark Miller signed a deal with Netflix called the Miller World stuff, so everything transferred to Netflix ownership. So he was then writing comics to try and make shows, as opposed to writing the comic first, then adapt to a TV show. He was writing comics to hopefully get on screen. Now, my understanding is this was meant to be the first one they made, but then it was Jupiter's Legacy, I think. Yeah. Which was
Frank
bombed.
Whiteley.
Yeah. But that bombed. The Netflix didn't it? But then I understand they parked this one, but now it's back in production for Netflix.
Because I saw that initially, and I was like, I don't like the sound of that, so I'll just switch on. And Mark Miller died a death on Kick-Ass 2 and a few other books, and I was just like, I'll leave you alone for a bit. Because I genuinely adore some Mark Miller books, like Authority Volume 1, Authority Volume 2 is really good, not as good as Volume 1, but there's some Mark Miller books that are really strong, like the Ultimates and stuff like that. But
Old Man Logan.
I wasn't a massive fan of Old Man Logan. It was okay.
That was a great book.
What I will say, Shane, for example, on the Nerd Herd, he's one of the ones quite outspoken that he does not like comic books that are made for TV adaptations. He doesn't like it, and I think he gave this a 10. out of 10.
Wow.
So it's a hard one to kind of persuade you to do it, because it's Harry Potter mixed with like The Sopranos, like a gangster movie.
Well, that's why Scott liked it, innit? Because he likes Harry Potter, doesn't he?
He hates Harry Potter, but he likes magic. He loves
He's
magic.
just young.
I know, and the magic was done really well, to be honest.
I think that's sometimes why I find it hard to connect with some of his stuff. It always feels like I can't quite put my finger on it, but it feels like it's like a remix of something rather than a fresh idea. So like, while he executes it well, it just doesn't quite have that like
ideas
cool.
from everywhere. Yeah, I know what you mean.
See, to be honest, I'm not the biggest fantasy fan. I'm more sci-fi, futuristic type thing. That's my wheelhouse. But I loved this. This was brilliant. And for someone that doesn't really like it, if I think it's that good, it might be worth a read, even if you read it digitally. It's only 6 issues for the first one. It caught me off guard.
I always keep an eye out for his stuff anywhere cheap. I have read probably about 10 or 15 of his sort of shorter books that I've just picked up in charity shops or whatever for $5 here and there.
Nemesis.
So they're gonna sell like stuff people give away to charity shops. That's where
I have I've read Super Crooks, I read Nemesis, I read whatever the Mary Jane story was. Like I've read them all. But I just haven't paid full cost for them.
I quite liked the Jupiter's Legacy and Jupiter's. There's another one, isn't it? It's Jupiter's Legacy and Jupiter's something else.
Sure.
The books are very good. It was a shame the series bombed because it was just getting to the good stuff, the good twists and things.
The series actually looked like I haven't watched it, but in terms of like the trailers and things, it looks spectacular. They've tried a lot of different, fancy pants kind of action or like CGI or whatever, and it looked good. But it mustn't have had any substance to it, because I don't think people really appreciate it at all, to be honest.
I reckon it's similar to the books, because the books, single issue wise, I picked it. They were some of the last single issue collections that I was buying, really, and it didn't stand on its own single issue.
Yeah.
When you read it as a good run of like 12 issues or so, it had something going for it. It had a bit of teeth to it. But if you were to read the single issue, like issue 1, issue 2, issue 3 on their own, you just be like, this isn't for me.
Yeah.
This isn't they didn't have that strength to it. But as a whole, it made more sense. And so maybe that was it. Maybe people just didn't tune in for the long haul, which has that payoff, really.
Yeah. But like I say, I mean, I'm disappointed because I don't see Pete's eyes down on his phone. He's not buying this one, Martin. I don't see him on Amazon or eBay trying to pick this up.
I've already ordered that one, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
He's suspicious of Mark Miller. He's like, I don't know.
Coming to a video near you, Pete, unboxing. When did I buy this?
No, I'm pretty sure I ordered it when you. I'm pretty sure I ordered it when you reviewed it on Nerd Herd, and it's in my room somewhere. I've just not.
To be honest, it's one of the few times that I've watched the Nerd Herd, and it's made me want to go buy stuff, because a lot of the times I watch the Nerd Herd and I'll either have like a strict opinion of the book going in, whether that's good or bad.
Yeah, you've already read it. Yeah.
Yeah, but then sometimes I'll go in and I think, or sometimes even, I don't want to watch that episode because I know I'll hate that book, maybe or whatever. But then with Magic Order, I read it and it came across like you were describing it then, in terms of it was totally different than my perception of it was going into it. So it was more intriguing. So yeah, I'll probably grab Magic Order to see what all the Sonic fuss is about.
Yes, we got him. We got him.
See, whether or not I like the book, I just like the discussion. I like seeing how different people react to books.
Yeah.
100%. That's what I like to. I'm the same. Like some of the times, like Chris, for example, like sometimes I feel like your books are too smart for me. Like
sometimes I feel like
but like I really enjoy like listening to people talking about them, if you know what I'm trying to say.
I remember you'll allow me to say this, I'm sure. I won't ask you permission. But I remember having a discussion with Phil, and he was like, look, I'm just not getting Jonathan Hickman. Just not getting him. And I'm like, well, sometimes you might, sometimes you. And he was like, no, it just seems like he's too brainy for me, and he intimidates me. I'm just like, well, you're not going to enjoy reading it.
Yeah, because even with Jonathan Hickman, like the X-Men stuff started off so well, but then it went a different kind of direction. I think we kind of get on board this. And then he released the Decorum, I think it was Decorum. That's an image title. And I was just like, I'm not getting this at all. That's just
even his Fantastic Four stuff. There was some phenomenal stuff in that. But then when every other page, you've got like a page of text with images explaining what people are doing. And you think, Christ, it's starting to get a bit much, this. Because I got lost off with some of his stuff as well.
Because I
Some of
didn't
it's
realize
fantastic.
with the X-Men, they had a lot of that, like base would have like a diary, a diary entry, whatever, a logbook, whatever. And I thought it was just for X-Men, but then like he had it in Decorum, and he's had it in some other stuff I've read. Like, so he does this all the time. This is his thing.
I'm pretty sure it's in everything. Yeah, he's just cryptic.
It is.
Yeah,
It is.
I don't want to do that.
That's why whatever the first Hickman series you read, that's the one that you will take forever. Like the Avengers was mine, his Avengers run, and then when I went into X-Men and other things that he's done with Image, you see the tropes that he used in that, and you're like, I know what you're doing, yeah. I'm not reading this for like 9 pages. I'll see you later.
I think that's an interesting point though, like that your first experience of something does stick, because like for me the big thing was when I read I'm blanking what's called, Tokyo Ghost. That was my first experience of Sean Gordon Murphy's art, so I associate that art with that story, and when I see it anywhere else I'm like, oh, it's trying to look like Tokyo Ghost because that's the one that I read first.
It's like the White Knight stuff. And there's obviously it's the same artist, obviously, but it's for obviously everything's for quite the same. But yeah, Batman the White Knight coming soon to Nerd Herd near you.
I think The Wake was my first one with him, and I read The Wake, which he did with Scott Snyder, I think, wasn't it? That was the same artist, wasn't it?
Pass.
Help me out, guys. Come on.
Don't know. I don't read comic books, really.
I've read The Wake, but I can't say
I
it's
have
what
on my
enjoyed.
shelf, yeah.
Gonna have to Google it now.
Glenn, just to answer your question, yes, I picked up the Venom Omnibus, even though it's not called the Omnibus. But I didn't. I actually had the King of Black Omni pre-order, but I cancelled it because, and I shouldn't have. I regretted it because I told you guys I got it for like £62 or something, whatever it was, which is dirt cheap. But I just thought I don't want it because I don't need it. I've got all the single issues. The King of Black stuff's in the Venom Omnibus. I didn't want to spend that money a week before Christmas, so I cancelled it. But now I regret it because you can't get it for less than 85 or whatever it is now.
I wouldn't regret
for all
it.
these big event omnibus.
That's a very good decision you've made there.
I think so. As a smart adult decision, I've done my best. But I have the Venom Omnibus. But I've already got my custom dust jacket ordered and received actually from.
Is it going to say Venom Omnibus?
Yes, 100%. With the white line because they didn't have. They actually have it handy. Hang on.
That's the thing. Like, I won't get the King in Black one. I've not got either yet, but I'll get the Venom Omnibus one. But I'm not going to spend £60-70 on another Omni with the same content just for the tie-ins.
And the tie-ins were shit.
Well,
I don't get this like event named book and then writer named book and then series named book that have like slightly different 1 or 2 issues in them. Like, what are they playing at?
I get it.
Ones are such a rip-off.
I get it if you space them out by a year.
Not 2 weeks.
If you have like King in Black like a year ago out in Omnibus and it was like Absolute Carnage, the mini series and the tie-ins, and then a year later or 2 years later or whatever, bring out the Ven Omnibus that collects the run and the mini series and doesn't do the tie-ins.
but then you, for some of them you've also got like a Donny Cates omnibus that crosses in different books. So you'll have like Silver Surfer and
but
other
more
stuff
than
all
anything,
the same
what
thing.
I mean is, but more than anything, what I kind of mean is that the King in Black and the Ven Omnibus literally cancel each other out. Whereas if you space the others out enough, I can see why you would do it as a publisher. Yeah. I can see why you would do it.
They were out 2 weeks apart.
Confusing.
And it's like £200+ and a fortnight before Christmas for books that you don't. And for the King and Black omnibus, like a lot of the tie-ins, they weren't meant to be for King and Black. Some of them were destined for like an X-Men event that never happened, so they just shoehorned them into King and Black, and like they were rubbish.
To be honest, it felt like that was Absolute Carnage. Absolute Carnage had two decent.
Can I just say though, the tie-ins for Absolute Carnage were so much better than King and Black. I read the whole thing for both events, but I was into it. The Absolute Carnage ones were fantastic in comparison to King and Black. King and Black was wick.
I've got the Absolute Carnage omnibus, but I've not started it yet.
It's fine as long as you stop. What it was Miles, the Miles mini, the Miles spin-offs after the main series, and then there was
That a Gwen one was good.
There was another one that was good actually. It was
What they call her with the robot,
one?
the robot arm. What's her name? Christy.
Misty Knight?
Misty Knight. Yeah, they had a one with her for Absolute Carnage. Was actually quite liked. It was quite a good one. I can't think. What
I
it's called,
didn't like that one.
Oh really? The art
I
was
did.
strange in that, but I quite liked the story of it.
I could have done without a lot of the tie-ins for Absolute Carnage, but that's why the King in Black is just not even on my radar because I'm like, I got the Ben Omnibus.
Yeah.
I think
I kind of wish with the events that they would go back to what they used to do with the oversized hardcovers and have like an event book and a companion book. So if you want all the tie-ins, you can buy them, but if you don't, you could just have the event.
Because
the companion book was brilliant. The companion book was a perfect solution to that situation. You bring out an omnibus and then a companion with the tie-ins and then leave that option. You don't like double dip so substantially.
And have weird some not in others. Yeah, it's just silly.
Yeah. See, I would prefer that as well because I've got a big issue when it comes to these large, thick omnibuses at the moment.
They are getting mental.
It's stupid. I'm really not happy about Immortal Hulk. I want to try that
when you
series.
take into account the paper's about half the thickness now as well, that's actually like a lot of pages and very weak, thin pages.
Would you say that you were angry about Immortal Hulk?
Yeah, I want to smash stuff.
Just because I don't mind a big book if it's built well. I mean, if you look at the New 7 to Eternity book, the paper's nice and thick and crisp, the binding's good, you know. But if you look at a Marvel Omnibus, like I can literally see all the way through the page and read the next one. Like, so, like,
to be fair, the see-through pages don't bother me as much because I didn't know what it was like before. I only collected omnibuses fairly recently, so they're all thin. Whereas sometimes, like Chris, I think your Ultimate Spider-Man actually was the original one or 20 years ago, and
my Ultimate Spider-Man omnibus is about that much thicker than yours.
That's what I mean. So you would have
about a centimeter or two thicker than yours.
So we're talking about omnibuses here, nothing else, guys. All right, nothing else. Because if I want to play that game, I'll win.
Yeah, that would be more than a centimeter, substantially more.
When Omnibus were first introduced by Marvel, an omnibus was a premium edition. Yeah. So they had the best binding, they had end ribbons, they had leather or leatherette covers on them with like inlaid gold or silver kind of like embossing, and they were a premium item. Whereas now it's just a bulk item. It's treated like an impendium. You know, your sort of books, and they just pump them out. Yeah. So you're getting misprints, you're getting upside down pages, you're getting really thin pages. Like they don't care as much.
Yeah, the quality control's gone tits up, isn't it?
And the prices go through the roof.
I've had loads of books where it's like the pages aren't even cut. Like at the bottom corner, will have an additional like square attached to it. They haven't.
It's like folded in and it wasn't cut right. Yeah,
and that's really frustrating. Whenever you don't open them straight away as well, because I don't. Like a lot of mine are still sealed. When you open them and you think, oh, for goodness sake, I gotta send that one back and get a replacement. But I won't try and cut them myself. I just won't.
No.
But mostly if they've got coloured in pages, it's not too bad. It's when you get to the large text boxes, and I can just see clean through. That just bugs me.
See, this is why
I think I mentioned it. Oh, sorry, Mark.
No, that's all right. I was just going to say, this is why going into next year, I'm taking a bit of a step back with Marvel Omnibuses purely because of the quality control. I will get ones that I really want, like Iron Fist by Brubaker, for example. I want that, so I'll take the hit for the quality, but I won't go as mad as I have done. I'm actually going to get rid of some of my Marvel Omnibuses because I just feel like I've gone a bit too crazy on the FOMO, and I need to filter down. Because I'm starting to get to a point where indie is more important for me.
Plus, their books are far better quality in general.
God, yeah.
It's difficult to balance the impulse to buy with what you're actually reading. Like it's so easy when you do have cash flow to just buy, and then not think about it.
Exactly.
Anyway, let's keep moving before Pete falls asleep. Sorry, Pete.
So this is a book I've mentioned before. I was reading it in singles, and I've now started picking it up in trades. So I believe Volume 3 is due in March, something like that. But this is Robin by Joshua Williamson. It's one of my favourite runs going on just now because One, it stands alone for at least this first sort of 2 arcs before it starts kind of crossing over a little bit with Batman. But 2, it's just a fun story. I've likened it before to Mortal Kombat. It's basically just Damian enters a tournament, and because it's a Lazarus-based island, there can be deaths and they're brought back. So this is a place where they can actually kill within the DC universe, which is quite fun. And as it kind of progresses, we get more of a kind of character growth of Damian. So, does he get a girlfriend? Does he read manga? Who are his friends in the world? Rather than just the angry kid that we've had up until now. So I've really enjoyed his writing, and I enjoy his writing with the Flash stuff as well. So it's just one of my favorite writers just now within DC.
I think of those trades.
Nice.
They're slightly thicker than a standard DC trade because these are matte pages, but they look nicer.
Yeah. I'm just thinking if that gets an Omni at some point, that'd be a nice size. If there's only 3 volumes.
Yeah, well, so I think it's 3 volumes.
Come on now, hold on, Martin. You've got to relax. You just said about calming down.
On Marvel?
We
Marvel,
don't need
that's
to
DC.
buy this.
I think it would end up a little bit longer than that because there was a trade that came out that was like the lead up to this, which was like 2 issues of Batman and 2 issues of Robin kind of before this. That would be a nice lead into the Omni. And as I said, there's going to be the Batman versus Robin arc that comes after this. So it'll probably end up being roughly 4.5 volumes at that stage. But I still think that's a small enough size for one book.
Isn't there a Deathstroke story as well, like 1 over 3 books?
There is, but I think you could just take the tie-in issues from that. You wouldn't need to include the run.
Yeah, that's
the same way that they've done in the Deathstroke omnibus that came out from, was it New 52 or something recently? And it had the tie-in issues from Teen Titans in it.
Yeah.
Christopher Priest.
The Christopher Priest one, yeah.
I started reading the Robin stuff when it was rebooted. I always like a new number 1 for some, just because I feel like I could jump in this, I can actually catch up and read this, and for the whole kind of the tournament aspect of it was actually really good. I quite like Damian Wayne. Damian Wayne?
Damian, yeah.
I was thinking Damian Wayne, like the actor. Damian, yeah, okay. But I dropped it, not because it was poor, because I had to, because I had so many books on the pull list. And it's one that if that gets on omnibus or an oversized hardcover of some sort, I will be picking that up. So yeah.
Yeah,
I'm reading it in trades, so there should be another trade out in March, and then I don't know what happens after that.
I love Joshua Williamson. It's quite a little known series, Ghosted. I think I mentioned it not long ago. I think we were talking not long ago. I really enjoyed that. I was with Image Comics, Ghosted, and that was really enjoyable. For a haunted house.
Williamson is nice spearheading, isn't he? The DC continuity or whatever, whatever it is. He's the one.
Who would want that job?
No.
If you came to me and went like that,
he's like
you can be the head of DC continuity. I'm okay.
Yeah, well, where Scott Snyder did the whole metal stuff, the metal stuff officially ends and the Infinite Frontier stuff takes over, and that's where Joshua's kind of mapping it from there.
Yeah,
I think he's writing less books now. I think he's only getting to write like 1 or 2 books now because he's having to do the overarching stuff.
Is he still
taking that over? Sentence is exactly why I wouldn't want to be the head of continuity.
Is he still going to be running it after Dark Crisis? Or is Mark Waid stepping in?
So Mark Waid's there too, but I'm not really sure. That's the thing. No one knows. We literally don't know. But Mark Waid, I think, would have came with a hefty price tag as well. So,
I mean, because you're talking about it, breaking news. It's me. I'm doing it.
He would do anything.
So Mark Waid was doing the is it World Finest?
Yes.
Stuff, and that's crossing over with the Robin and Batman stuff, I believe, at some point. So I think maybe Mark Waid and Josh Williamson are writing together.
I do like Mark Waid, man. I like his writing.
Who's the guy?
I was just surprised that he was even on a DC book because I thought he was running Humanoids.
Yeah.
Who's writing the Superman his return? Because I think that's going to kickstart the whole thing, isn't it? Superman comes back.
Who's writing?
I think we talked about this. Did we talk about this last time in Omnibus?
Probably.
Somewhere. Mark Waid only joined because an editor who he had a major dispute with left, and a new creative team came in, and he came in after them because he adores Superman.
Yeah.
Anywhere Superman goes, Mark Waid will follow.
I mean, to be
as
fair, you
long
got
as
Dan
things-
Mora, so
Yeah.
But yes, I think Superman's due back some point at the start of this year, because obviously his son's been stepping in the mantle of Superman, but I think he's due to come back, and that will be the whatever direction DC go with. It'll be with Superman in charge. I think. I don't know how they're doing it, but we'll be here to find out. It needs something, definitely. I think DC's, although Batman reboot or rejuvenation under Chip Zdarsky's been really good, but even the Batman book has been poor for the last year and a half. But
No, I think you're right. There hasn't been anything like substantial, like apart from like the little offshoots, like G was just talking about Robin and stuff like that. There hasn't been a big chunky, like, you know, all singing, you know, like those series that you've got on your shelves, you know, you've got like the Snyder.
I don't mind that. I like the collection of deceased books. I think there's a few of those that bookend nicely, and I think it's because it's away from the mainstream DC universe, so you can do what you want in it.
Yeah,
you know?
I was going to
The
say
Black
that.
Label stuff, you mean, is it?
Yeah,
That's exactly it. I was going to say that. Do you not think DC's like top shining books are ones that are non-continuity or black label?
I know.
Yeah.
That's the problem, though, isn't it?
It's sad, isn't it?
Yeah, the actual is they more successful with their imprint than they are with the main print?
The actual, I think the most successful book for DC at the minute, and Chris and Highland G might fight over this, has been Nightwing. I think that's been
I can see that in my law. It's because Nightwing has got an audience that is properly invested and dedicated to that character without the shadow of doubt. Like, it's the reason why Daredevil is still surviving in Marvel. It's because there's a community of people there and a fandom that are supporting that character. And
I feel like they've also played the Hawkeye trump card and brought in a little puppy. Which really helps.
That'll always win.
And it has the Oracle back as being the Oracle as well, which is they're good together, to be fair, in the Nightwing book.
But it just shows though how Tom Taylor can write Nightwing and it be top tier, and then we've got Son of Kal-El, which is now being laid to rest. So
also, it's a somewhat controversial book for different reasons, but Tom Taylor, I think, does his best work when it's not continuity, like except Deceased. I haven't read what's the video game one, Injustice. I haven't read it, but I know people love it. But again, not in continuity. And even the other thing he's doing now is Dark Knights of Steel, which is like a medieval version of the DC universe, which is actually quite entertaining. I'm not up to date on it, to be fair.
I think most of my favorite stories from the big
that's
two
the one,
are what you would term Elseworld stories.
Yeah.
Like
Dark Knights of Steel caught my attention, but when the artists all started changing, I was a bit iffy on picking it up.
I think as well, like with James Tynion, kind of, I don't know what he's doing these days, because he was the big, like DC were investing in him as well. And
I love how you said that. Then it's like, what's he doing, man? Lazy bastard.
Do a lot of stuff.
Because he done the whole Substack thing, and then that's kind of funny as well. But I think James Tynion was positioning himself as to be the spearhead of the DC continuity, and then he obviously left Batman, and even the Nice House in the Lake, which started really strongly, had like delays and stuff like this. I think it doesn't help DC when there's no one at the helm.
I find it very peculiar indeed that James Tynion can do such a strong run on Detective Comics and then take over the main run and have an absolute flop. I think there's something in people's expectations of that main run that they haven't got with Detective Comics.
I also think he works best as a second in command. Like him under Scott Snyder. Yeah. Scott Snyder took all the risks, and Tynion did all the cleanup work and made it work. He didn't have to come up with the ideas himself, but Scott didn't have to clean up the messes that were left behind, and they worked together really well. But alone, they're not as
Batman's
good.
DC's flagship book, isn't it? So you don't know what kind of restrictions are put on people when they take on something like that. I suppose
that as well. You could be forced to do a certain arc or go with a certain artist or whatever the case may be.
But like I say, with Chip Zdarsky taking over, like, he's obviously still writing Daredevil, so you got Daredevil writer and the Batman writer. And I've never, it's a long time, 5 years, I've never known like the person who's on Batman to do all their stuff for Marvel. Usually they just sign for DC and that's it. I'm sure it's happened over the years, but just like it just seems weird that here we have a guy who's taken over the DC flagship book, but is still making killer sales with Daredevil over in Marvel. You know,
to the point where he finished his story and then put him back on it for a #1 to do another.
Yeah, they rebooted Daredevil just to keep And
I
thought
strangely it would be Miller as well, wouldn't it? Because Miller was doing Batman along with Daredevil.
I think we're finding that the few big names that are left in the industry right now are darting about all the companies because everybody demands them. Like they don't care who you've done work with this week or who you're doing work with next week. You know, there's like 6 big names and they're all getting pulled from pillar to post. You know, I just feel that's the way it's gone because the other 10 or 15 that were big names have either offended someone or been offended themselves and have disappeared. and you know, we're now left with the remainder, not necessarily because of the best, but just because of politics and comics.
Yeah.
So I think, but also with DC, like 2023 is their year. You know, everyone says this is their year to get back on track, unless Wade and Williamson have another balls.
I just need less events. Can we just do less like massive world events and just let the books be their own thing?
The problem you've got there though is that for them, they're bestsellers.
Yeah, it sells. #1s
and then do the standalone event runs of issues 1 through 10 of an event, and don't do tie-ins in my book.
Mm-hmm. They're gonna do it, though. They're gonna do it.
Like it's just.
I know.
I'll just walk away, and that's why I only read like 2 books currently, which is Flash and Robin.
I know, and this is why I've kind of walked away as well. I think Remender, weirdly, you know, with the film structure, he was the big thing. He actually blocked me on Twitter, the bastard. Yeah, this was like years ago. This was
true.
No, I did. I promise. I was very, very courteous. I was a nice guy. But he was doing the Uncanny Avengers, which led into Access eventually, which led into like I think it was a 6 or 8 issue run, and I was buying Uncanny Avengers week on, month on, week on week, month on month, and I was really enjoying the story because it followed on from Uncanny X-Force and all that, and I got to the end of that run, and then basically I was more or less told at the end of that run, okay, to get the end of the story, you got to buy Uncanny Avengers crossover with Access and X-Men and all that. And I'm like, I just want the end of the story. And it's like, yeah, but the end of the story is in this event. You're going to have to go over there. And so in a fury, I tweeted, I recommend.
Never a good idea.
Oh, do you think it's fair that I've like bought like 30 odd issues and now I can't even get the end of the story until I get like 8 issues of a comic I don't even want to read, you know, with characters I don't even care about really, and he blocked me.
Did you not even engage in a debate? Did you just
not
block?
even engage?
He's regretting not now that you're a big YouTuber.
Yeah.
So
he's regretting it now. Now that I'm an influencer, he's hating himself.
Yeah.
But do you not find they've done this with quite a few series? You know, the one that comes to my mind is Justice League from New 52. You know, you've got 52 issues, but the last 2 issues are not in the trades. They're not in the omnibus. They're part of Action Comics. Like a kick-off for the next lot of Action Comics. Like,
I mean, half of the New 52 runs were cut into at least 2 runs, or maybe 3. And some of them are not collected at all. And some of them are like a mess. So like Wonder Woman, you get the 1 omnibus, and then there's 3 trades done by the Finches that come after that, but they're not collected in any hardcover or anything together.
The problem with all this though is that they're only doing it because they keep selling so well.
Yeah.
But then collecting those issues in the aftermath is a disaster because you collect all these random event issues and together you're like, what the hell am I reading? It's like loads of different creators, loads of different artists, loads of different. But then when they release those individual comic book issues, because they spec comics and because they're interesting on some level, people will buy them.
I think it was it Dan DiDio? Is that how you pronounce his name? He's the one who I think you referred to. He got the boot from DC last year before. Didn't he come out and say something on the lines? He didn't actually like comic books. He wants to go down the line of like original graphic novels or something like this.
Yeah,
he had a right thing about Nightwing, didn't he? He didn't.
Dan
So, like-
DiDio is a bit of a knob, though. So
Yeah,
gotta kinda
100%.
take it.
But in terms of like what comes to us for like collected editions, like if they went down that route, that would be better for us. But
that's
like,
the other
releasing
thing
the
with
monthly singles, it's hard to collect them all at the end.
the other thing with DC though is they're trying to go down this route that Marvel done with the Epic collections for a bit, which is where they name their trades like collection names rather than giving them numbers. So like you'll see here, it says like the Lazarus Tournament and I Am Robin on the spines, and you only find the volume hidden right here on the back by the barcode.
Yeah.
So if you actually want to know what volume you're buying, half the time it can be a mess. And with the Nightwing one, I believe one of the volumes is just called like the Joker War, and you don't know whether that's volume 1 or volume 3.
I've
The
had
Joker
this
Wars
today.
Volume 2.
I picked up
like I didn't know that.
I picked up the last 2 trades for the Green Arrow run in Rebirth because I had all the others, so I thought I might as well pick the last 2 up. There's no numbers on them; they're just named. The spines are different to the rest of the trades. I'm like, well,
oh yeah.
And then
the
you
tail
flip
end
it
of those
over,
runs.
and then it's volume 7, volume 8. Is like,
So
okay,
DC, sort your shit out, please. Help
So I
us
think
all
the
out.
aim for them is that you can pick this up as a graphic novel and read it by itself.
Yeah.
But the trouble is, you can't read volume 2 of this by itself. You need one. Like,
Who knows what DC are doing? To be fair, Pete,
Hello.
still with us?
I'm there. I'm there.
Right. You, give us another book, and then we'll just
I'm not giving you one. Bullshit. I've been waiting for like an hour. I've got 3
books
here.
from Pete.
All right. 4 from Pete, none from Chris. I've heard enough of Chris tonight.
Just do a shelf tour.
I'll do a shelf tour. Yeah. First of all, Killer Be Killed. Mentioned.
Damn.
Picked up all of the trades, so read it in completion.
Signed by Sean Phillips.
Absolutely amazing. Yeah, I got it signed at Thought Bubble. I just loved it. It was one of those stories that just kept us going all the way through, and I just loved it. Absolutely loved it. So yeah, highly recommend that one.
That's a fun run.
yeah.
Any of you guys
Yes.
reading the recent Punisher run?
I'm waiting for it. It's only 12 issues, I think. I'm waiting for it going to come out in a hardcover after. Yeah.
That'd be
I've
nice.
moved away from mainstream Marvel, but this was highly recommended. So I jumped back in really purely for the controversy about them changing his symbol. But it's an amazing run. It goes back and re-examines his origin and adds some elements that I'm not sure I like, but I'm not sure they're going to stick around. So I'm waiting to see what happens with that. But basically, the premise is that he's now joined, or he's the leader of the Hand, and the full story is basically setting him up against Ares, the god of war. And it's just amazing. The latest issue had the second of latest issue had Daredevil in it, and it was just beautiful. The artwork, everything's stunning. So
Jason Aaron, isn't it? Jason Aaron, the right?
yeah, Jason Aaron, yeah. So really got me back into Punisher. Love it.
Who's the artist?
So the issue 1 had about 1,400 different limited edition covers and all that. I got them all.
Yeah, the internal.
So
That's
is
a
there
beautiful
like
spread. The first
is there-
page with kind of panels from everybody.
is there like an event or something that happened that turned him into this version of the Punisher, or are we just jumping straight in?
I'll be perfectly honest. I don't know, because I've just picked up this. I don't know what the backstory was, because I
Just
stopped.
because my understanding was it also obviously runs and cuts in with Daredevil, right? Like there's like elements where
Not really. No. So Daredevil's only appeared
so-
in the last issue.
So that's the 2022 run then. So that's basically 12 issues.
Yeah, it's 12 issues. That's it. I think there may be one random one-shot book as well that came out.
Yeah, that wasn't very good.
So
Yeah.
I'm hoping for like an oversized hardcover collection when it comes out, and I'll be picking that because I regret not jumping on that in single issues because I heard it's really good.
It's
I
just a
don't-
really interesting
But
take on
I
it.
thought there was like a Punisher run that was like he was running a certain like ninja group, and there's a Daredevil run where he's running a ninja group
No.
and they kind of collide or something.
I don't think there's an event or anything that's like spurred this off. I think Daredevil now that he's got past the whole Kingpin thing. I think, from my understanding, he is now him and the Lecter are just going to take on the Hand. That's their main thing now for this arc under Chip Zdarsky to take on the Hand and bring it down. We're obviously now the Hand have now got the Punisher in their ranks, so there is a coming together of some sort. But I don't think there's anything that's off this.
In the latest issue,
But
basically
that
the
doesn't
build
make
up is
him
being
canon current Punisher then, rather than Elseworlds.
It's current,
it's canon.
Yeah.
So in the latest issue, Daredevil's rocked up and basically tried to convince him that that he shouldn't be working with the hand. And there's a, I mean, not to spoil it for everybody, but he's assumed that the hand, the beast, has kind of possessed the Punisher, like it did him in a few series ago in another series, and he realizes that actually it's not. It's just Frank Castle's, the ultimate expression of Frank Castle being a monster, basically. So yeah, it's well worth a read. Last one I'm going to push.
Oh.
You mentioned a wrestling book. Crimson Cage is just phenomenal. I'm not a wrestler fan, to be honest, but this
you should have ended.
I'm not a wrestler.
You
know, I should have just left it there.
Yeah.
Back in my youth, you know what I mean? But this is based on Macbeth. Stunning artwork by Alex Cormack and written by John Lees. It's a brilliant book. I've thoroughly enjoyed this. Some great imagery in it. Really well worth reading.
Again, with that one, with me being a wrestling fan, like obviously the WWF, whatever, this is like very much like Southern States territorial wrestling in the 80s, so it's really like grounded.
NWA type thing.
Yeah, like all like that's what it is. All like it's, and they're traveling through different territories, and again, the whole Macbeth story comes in where this guy wants to be the champion. It's like he wants to be the king. And he's obviously promised to be the king if he does the deed, whatever else. And you're right.
Is that where they've got the publisher name from? Because the publisher is AWA, you know?
Yeah, AWA.
No, artists, writers, and artisans is what that's.
Yeah, but I reckon they based that on the wrestlers, man.
I don't think so, but that's a good show.
Definitely,
definitely.
But yeah, like again for a mini series, my second what Pete's saying. I mean, if your heads aren't down your phones by that book now, I'd be a bit surprised. It's really good. It looks fantastic. Really good storytelling. Solid. Good pick.
See, rapid, straight through 3. See how I did that?
I was trying to do that, to be fair, and then Chris kept talking. Like Chris, so over to you. I'm just joking.
I'll just do one quick, and then we finish.
Says you, I'm going for another hour.
Yeah. I don't know what I'll let you guys pick then. Okay, what do you want? Right hand or left hand?
Left.
Right.
Oh, for God's sake! Right.
I'm not voted then, obviously.
Well, you go with right hand. Like your right hand, like it's left on my screen, but it's your right hand.
Yeah, I'm talking about my hands. Oh, you was.
Right, sorry, start again. So.
No, you all said right. You all said right.
Just hold them both up.
Right.
Just
go right.
I'll just go right. Right.
Oh, go left. No, go left. Stay right.
No, go right.
No,
go right.
Stay right.
Go right.
Stay right. Okay.
I've not read this yet.
Why did I agree to come on this?
Because you love us.
So, Vagabond. I read volumes 1 to 12 of the Viz Big signature edition, and yeah, this absolutely blew me away because it's a story loosely based on kind of Japanese history in terms of Miyamoto Musashi, who is a swordsman from feudal Japan from the 17th and 18th century Japan. And basically, it's his story of how he grew up, kind of, almost fatherless, without spoiling anything, and grew up in the woods, and was just determined to be the greatest fighter the world had ever seen. And so this is what this is. It's just a young kid being the greatest fighter he ever has, fighting everyone, and he's just searching out people that will be the best fight he could ever have. So he'll improve him and improve him and improve him. He never kind of doubts that he could lose against these people. He's just overconfident and brash and amazing. But it's such an amazing kind of insight into life in the world in feudal Japanese history. And the artistry in it is on another level. It really is. It genuinely is on an absolute another level, to the point where the author, Takahiko anyway, he actually nearly put himself into an early grave drawing it because he put so much kind of time and effort into it that he specifically said he was going to have a nervous breakdown if he keeps drawing it, because it's like, it's just like, it is just ridiculously detailed and amazing. But the battle scenes in it, the story in it, the fact that it takes time to kind of set the scene and the kind of feeling of a scene. You know, it takes pages just with like the wind blowing across the landscape. And I know that might not sound interesting, but somehow it is. it just sets that whole tone. And these books kind of I think they collect 3 individual volumes in each book. We get to volume 12, and he actually took a hiatus on the series. He is going to return to it at some point. Who knows when? It's not like it's unfinished, but it's kind of taken an end, a break for a moment. Musashi has got to a certain point in his life, and he's kind of left there until Takahiko anyway comes back and redraws the rest of his life. But it's amazing how this battler of a kid and a child grows through teens into his 20s and realizes that he's never going to be fulfilled, and that scares the life out of him as well. So as you go through the series, you grow with him, and you realize that, along with him realizing that he's never going to be fulfilled, and that scares the life out of him. He's kind of like, how am I ever going to actually feel like I've accomplished anything? And it's just a phenomenal samurai story in feudal Japan. I mean, gee, I can't believe you've never read it, to be honest.
I was going to say, I can see Highland G's nodding away there.
I got a box set type thing, if you like, within like the Humble Bundle of like all the various manga ones a while ago. So I have like a digital file of like that and like Lomo from Cab and so on and so forth. But what some of the guys I kind of touched on earlier is like it's daunting to jump into things sometimes, especially if you're reading other stuff. So for me right now, my main thing I'm trying to kind of finish up is Usagi, and then once I've done that, I can maybe delve into one of these sort of longer series. Outside of that, I am still reading some manga, samurai related stuff, but they're like 3 or 4 volume arcs. Not. I mean, that'd be like one of those. Like rather than like 11 of them.
Yeah,
did you say there's 11 of those, Chris? Sorry, 11 of those.
There's 12 of these, but keep in mind, right? Keep in mind
the
with
normal
manga,
Tankaban's like a quarter of that.
They really are
like
so
4
fast.
Tankabans.
They're so fast. They like manga is designed to be read a very quick pace.
Oh yeah, it's almost like a page as a panel.
Yeah, that's why the art in some cases, not this case, but in some cases the art is more relaxed on certain pages, build into a splash page, and then more relaxed and then build into an opening. This is the opposite to that. The every tiny part of this is painstakingly kind of created and built up with like pencil work and inking, and it's mind-blowing, to be honest. But this, it really is. If you want like character development and an interesting story and a look at human beings in this era, and to be honest, it's not that far removed from how we are modern day in terms of striving for something but never feeling that fulfillment when you achieve it. And when he kind of achieves these greatest heights of being the greatest swordsman, it's still not enough for him, and you kind of feel for him. And it's just a great character kind of piece.
What did you say it was called, Chris? Sorry?
Vagabond.
Straight on down on eBay. Just want to say hello because we're getting quite late. Trevor Squire, hello. What a good group of guys. Do you mean all of us? I mean, do you want to met anyone here?
Well, I don't.
Definitely me. I'm in that group. It's my channel. So.
But no, this took ages. I should say this took ages for me to get because the individual volumes were fairly hard to get. They are in English. These big editions are the best way to get them. They are in other languages. They're easier to get. In French and in Japanese, they're easier to get. But
can you read French or Japanese?
I cannot.
I can't, so I won't be. Yeah.
I mean, it's cheaper, but it's a bit of a.
It just reminds me of
economy, isn't it?
I mentioned James from Comic Deal earlier on. I think he bought the Usagi Yojimbo omnibus for like £1 on like World of Books on eBay, but it was Italian. I didn't know that until it arrived.
Now, you know those two books I bought earlier in the show? I didn't think to check what language they were in. I'm going to kick off, mate.
There's a lot of Polish Usagi Yojimbo and Italian, yeah.
Trevor said he's watched at least 3 of us, and I appreciate all your contribution to the comic book community. Don't tell us what's 3 because that's really guilty if
It's obviously not Martin. You ain't on YouTube.
channel.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. It's at least one of us out. I don't want to be.
Well, I think I'm not going to belittle you, Phil, but I'm fairly certain I know which 3 it is.
Yeah. To be fair, I don't have my own YouTube channel any longer. It's been parked for now. I might come back in 2023. Who knows? Now that
the other book was Mind Management, by the way.
Yeah, thank goodness you didn't talk about that. No, I was. See, to be honest, like I get that art is like what's the word? Subjective, but that was ugly. A really ugly book.
This is the thing is that I didn't find the art ugly at all, but I can fully understand why someone would look at it and think it was ugly. It's like having. Yeah, it is totally subjective artist, but I can see in his art, it's very similar to Jeff Lemire's art and Paul Pope's art and things like that, in terms of they're so simplistic and heavy lined that I can see why people would be put off.
Chris, let's have a look.
The art.
It's Mind Management. So this is by Matt Kint.
It's like a school textbook, that doesn't it?
I was just thinking that. Huh?
It's great.
But then the thing is, contextually, that's the point, right? It's supposed to be a textbook. It's supposed to be a manual.
This is supposed to be
the larger hardcover has like annotations and stuff around the side of the pages.
This does
it's meant to look flat and like it was created as a textbook. It's not meant to look like comic art.
Yeah, like if you look closely at the blue writing along the top.
Oh yeah.
You see that? There's actually stories within the story. So around the side, there's stories. And even later on, let's see if it's in this volume. Yeah. In later volumes, they actually have sub-comics at the bottom of the page.
See, this is what I was referring to with like Hickman being too intelligent. I'm not saying like this guy's too intelligent for me, but it's like they're putting too much effort in. I don't want to go that extra mile.
Yeah, you don't want a book where the writers put effort in, Phil, do you?
Yeah, I don't want to have to like turn the book upside down to read the blue writing around the page. And
you don't have to, though. You don't have to. You don't have to.
I know, but if you're doing it, I feel like you have.
Those who do.
I know that's what I'm saying. Because if you're doing that, I feel like I have to take it all in to get what you're trying to do.
Then you could say the same about any good artist, because I know people that read comics and literally will read the speech bubble and move to the next page. They don't actually look at the art, whereas I will sit and take a good maybe 5 to 10 seconds per panel and take in the art. And there's been times where I've read a book and there was one recently in one of the Usagi books. There was this little kind of homeless person in the background halfway through a story, and I was like, what the hell is he in these 4 panels for, and then not in the next like 8 panels? Like, that guy was there for a reason. And then they get to the end of the story and he appears and he was like a spy or something kind of following them, and he goes, nobody ever notices me in the background. And I was like, well, I did. Because I pay attention to what's in the panel where somebody else would have just glossed over it.
I don't know, you can read comics and not look at the art.
I'd be surprised.
Some people would just read it like a novel.
To be fair, Shane does that. If Shane decides that the art's not for him, he just reads the book, doesn't look at the art. And
especially if the books have more narration, you can almost read it just like prose.
For Pete, so he's not completely out of the loop there. Mind Management is by Matt Kint, and essentially it's following this like clandestine group that's called Mind Management that pick people to train them in techniques like telekinesis, auto writing, these superhuman, I suppose you could call them, techniques, and it's looking at how that organization failed and how the person who was at the head of it has done some less than good things.
Based on true story? Because they did that in America, didn't they, with Project Blue?
No, but yeah, it's very much got that feel to it, like this like the extreme version of a clandestine branch of the CIA or that type of thing. But it's really off the wall and bonkers in places. But I loved it. I'll be honest. This is the second maybe even the third time. But I read the original run when it came out, and then I bought the trade paperbacks. There's 3 of these for the complete series.
Okay.
And yeah, it was just off the wall and bonkers. And I really admire artists and writers to shock me and intrigue me, and not in a a simple way, like showing me something shocking, but actually taking the story to a place that I would never expect, and changing and taking me to a place that I didn't know was coming. And Mind Management does that.
See, I've got a question for you on this series, actually. Obviously, we read the first volume for the Nerd Herd. It wasn't for me. I didn't really like it that much. But for someone that's read all of it, do you feel reading that first volume was a substantial amount of the series to get a feel for it? Or do you feel you need to maybe read on a little bit further to appreciate what it has to offer?
I think the first volume is totally and utterly there with the purpose of ending it for you to go, I want to know more. And if you don't want to know more, then it might not be for you. But I don't think you get anything really substantial by the end of the first volume. You get tidbits of what's to come, but the journey gets very much more epic and very much more global and kind of sinister as well as going forward, because the opening 6 issues, which I think is probably the first trade which you read, really is kind of it lays down Meryl, the main character, is trying to figure out how she doesn't remember certain things, how the world doesn't remember certain things, and so she's trying to piece together whole periods that the world has forgotten. And by the end of the 6 issues, she's starting to understand, but nowhere near the whole scope of it. So I would say that it's there meant to tickle your taste buds more than anything.
It didn't do that for me.
But I think that was the art that did it for you. I think it was the art.
Yeah, the story wasn't too. She was on an airplane, wasn't she? And she forgot everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I vaguely remember it, but it's just the art was the thing was off-putting. Because even like they had a few gun battles and a few people died, and just like the way that was illustrated, just like.
Pete, you love this, I'm sure you will. They've trained people to become immortal, and so how they train them is they train them in mind techniques to heal their body quicker. And so if they get like a gunshot or something, they've been ultimately trained in their mind to heal quicker and move on, and they kind of relentless assassins. It's amazing.
See, I think those sort of things, if you think they're interesting, the writer can have like dips and the art can have dips and things because you're still interested to see where it's gonna go. So like most recently I read the Incal for the first time, and while I don't feel the art is as good as the Metabarons book was, it's like absolutely mind-boggling the way some of the story kind of went, and it reminds me of reading Grant Morrison's The Invisibles, where I think if you like those weird twisted kind of world ideas and you can go along for the ride and just enjoy it for what it is, then it doesn't matter how like smart you are, as long as you like the topic and you can kind of pick out the bits that you're going to enjoy from it. But if you don't like the topic or in any way are offended by some of the subject matter shown, then you're going to just switch off and the rest is going to be, just dead ear for you. Yeah. So it's really going to depend on the person.
Definitely, I totally agree with that.
I'll not be picking up volume 2 unless somebody picks it for the Nerd Herd, but I might be sick that week. I might take that week off. I'm talking as if it's like a really bad book. For the Christmas release, describing the kind of these assassins, and they are relentless in their pursuit and chasing them down. It's almost like the Terminator type of thing, but like just not as cool as the Terminator. Unfortunately,
no. It's, again, it is like G said. It's one of those things. It's like if you like Jimenez in the Metabarons more than Morbius in Incal, then it almost helps that story out, doesn't it? Whereas G, I mean, would have to try that a little bit more to stick with that art because it's not as good as the other stories that he's read. And it's the same as you there. It's comic books are weird. It's because they've constantly got 2 streams that you kind of have to have in sync to like. And if one is out of kilter from the other, then it kind of falls apart a bit. And I think the art fell apart for you in that more than anything.
Yeah.
Well, folks, we're going to go again. So I'm up next. I'm just joking. I think we will finally call it there. But I did write them all down, and here's our list. Here's our top 14 books that we read this year. Ice Cream Man, Usagi Yojimbo, Volume 4, Deadly Class, Treasure of the Black Swan. Treasure of the Black Swan. Daredevil Born Again, Do a Power Bomb, Ultimate Spider-Man Volume 1, Magic Order, Robins, I can't remember.
Just
Robin. Crimson Cage, Killer Be Killed, The Punisher, Mind Management, and Vagabond. Even got a wee manga in there. So that's what that's a collective of 5 people have read this year that we think is top. So just let's listen to my recommendations and you'll be happy. Don't buy my management unless you're not. But yeah, I will have all the links to everyone's channels on Instagram. I think they were there already. Highland G, do you have anything coming up that you might want to tell us about now, or?
Not specifically, no. I mean, I'll have a closer look coming out on Sunday. I haven't actually scheduled which one it's going to be. It might be the Incal, but yeah.
Nice. Pete, I know you have about 1 million videos ready to go.
I don't know. I'm just trying to have a quick look. I think I've got my live show on Monday, which is a kind of a giveaway and a Christmas haul video. I've got a 1/6 scale Gambit figure video coming out and a 1/6 scale Wonder Woman figure coming out videos. So yeah, just my usual stuff.
Chris,
and if no one's watched it, my Christmas pickups videos out. If anyone wants to watch just random stuff I got for Christmas.
I was going to add earlier. I want to talk about shorts and TikTok. You could do like the incense with the fragrances. that could be your shorts for YouTube. You know,
there's only so much toffee that you can have.
You only got one. Just got one.
Never enough toffee. I love toffee.
I see Phil's watched the video.
Yeah. Chris, did you?
I always watch your videos. Yeah, I always do.
Yeah, me
I
too.
quite like. What? Oh, hold on, man.
Pete's falling asleep. I'm trying to get him to I'm just kidding. Go say.
I was going to say I enjoyed Highland's last video, and I'm trying to remember the book it was. I remember now. It was out on Sunday. What book was it?
Got like 2.
Is it that 5 Ghosts?
Yes. Yeah, I read that years ago. I got to revisit it. The Sherlock Holmes kind of. Yeah, I like that. But anyway, what have I?
Yeah, it's like Indiana Jones meets Powers. Yeah.
What have I got coming?
A live stream for 3 hours talking about the best books of 2022. Am I invited?
No. I tend to go with the high profile.
All right, you're the league above us now.
Yeah, I'm slumming
I bet you they're not as entertaining and as lovable as I am.
They're certainly not as lovable.
People with 10,000 subscribers or more.
Yeah, I love getting bots. So more bots, please. More bots.
We haven't hit that milestone yet because we don't get the bots. We don't get the sex pest bots, whatever they're called.
Yeah, so you gotta get them in.
Don't be showing off, right, Pete? We don't get bots.
We're at least 3 sex bots a night. Yeah.
I get them too, but just. Chris, come on.
I got Wilson by Daniel Klaus coming next week, I think, and then a Joe Sacco book, then a Hall, then a few other videos as well. But yeah, there's a couple coming.
Nice. For the Nerd Herd this week, what have we got? Snot Girl for
Volume 2.
Volume 2. I should really pick it up. Snot Girl Volume 2 this week. Please read it. Please tune in and watch us.
I reckon you should bill it as Brian Lee O'Malley.
That's what I was thinking. The creator of Scott Pilgrim, give this real big book the kind of promotion. But to be honest, with Snot Girl Volume 1 ended on a cliffhanger. I am interested to see how Volume 2 picks up. But I mean, it's just some TikTok star who does snotters. We'll see how it goes.
I love how he's bigging up his own channel a bit. So the channel we're on right now, he's like, watch it or don't watch it. I don't care.
But
I'll be just saying how we needed characters with TikTok channels and
exactly. So yeah, Snot Girl Volume 2 this Wednesday, 9:30 p.m. UK time. Please read. if you want, obviously, please read. You can read and watch along and get into the comments and that's what you think. We obviously scored at the end of the night and add your scores on. So if you are this late, 2 hours 58 minutes and 42 seconds, we very much appreciate that, and we'll see you on Wednesday. All being well.
Well, there's only like one person here, isn't it?
Yeah, that's probably me. There's three. No,
Well, yeah.
Yay! Well
One of
done,
those is
guys.
me.
Well done.
Yeah.
Well done.
Also, one of us, Pete.
Also, check out Kev's Daredevil draw along this week.
Oh, well saved there. Yeah, well done.
Kev, K-Wiz on Instagram. He does the draw along, and he done Daredevil this week because we read Daredevil Born Again. Just go back and watch that as well if you want.
Yeah.
And yes, it was great.
What's he drawing this week? Snot?
To be fair, I never know. I don't know. I don't ask. But that'd be interesting if
How to draw buggers.
I think he's doing
boogers. Say it again. How to draw boogers.
I do think he's very much focusing on the anatomy, so maybe going forward that's
last week Daredevil, this week boogers.
Yeah. Right, folks, I'm gonna end this here.
Oh, you
Thanks
can't
for
end
joining
it,
us.
Phil. Hang on. 20
You've got to say
seconds,
Happy
man.
New
20
Year as well.
seconds.
I know, but the thing's 17 seconds long, and I have dismissed the cut.
All right.
I was planning this perfectly. 17 seconds. Goodbye. Now I've passed the point.
Can you say Happy New Year in Irish?
You should have told us, Phil. Pete started to drag it out to the last second.
Yeah,
There's
I
no
was
point.
trying to drag it out.
Let's just do another round.
We'll just have to go for another hour. Go for another hour.
And this is what you get from this show. What's all the Omnifuss about?
Exactly.
3 hours long, guaranteed.
Happy New Year. Enjoy your celebrations. Stay safe. Be nice to one another. Peace
Have a
out.
good New Year's.
See you
Have a
next
good
one.
New Year.
Bye.
Happy New Year.